Well, hello, my peoples. How are you? Oh my gosh. Things have changed a little bit in the trial that we have been following with George Kelly. Fortunately, the live stream is not available anymore. Not available anymore. The person who was doing the live stream, well, I don't know exactly what happened, but they are no longer there. They had another trial, I believe, that they decided was more important than this one and continuing. So wait. I'm trying to type. I'm trying to type and I'm messing up. So anyways, I saw that they posted today's morning session. I am going to go there. We're going to go live. They started it about 40-something minutes ago. So where are we at? We are at the defense's side. The prosecution still has people on the stand, and we are told that come Wednesday. Now, they don't have court on Monday, which is good because I live in Kerrville and I am at the epicenter of the eclipse. And if you haven't heard of Kerrville and the eclipse, let's put it this way. All of NASA is here. And when I say that, I do not exaggerate. And Kerrville is about 24,000 people. And they're expecting us to get over a quarter million people here, 200,000, 250,000 people, supposedly. Now, if the weather cooperates, I believe that will be so. If it doesn't, I don't think we're going to get there. So, yeah, I'm just so happy for this. But Monday, we will not be live. Unless I decide later. Well, no, we won't be live Monday, but we will be Tuesday. Well, late Tuesday because I got to drive a daughter back to college. I am blessed to do so. I am blessed to drive my daughter back to college. So with that, people, we are going live. Here we go. I got it. I'll get it on screen. I'm just getting it rolling. I don't know how the audio is going to be. Let's see. I have it cranked up to 100%. I'm gonna come over here and just kind of skim through this and see.
Presence of all the jurors, counsel, and the defendant.
Ooh, good volume.
This is stepping forward. Yeah, come on up. Thanks. Have a seat. And just to remind you, as I remind all witnesses after an evening adjournment, you're still under oath. Okay. Thank you, sir. I believe we were about to start the cross-examination. Is that correct?
Did you bring the jury?
Whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome, Your Honor. Some judges do not like to hear
Good
thank
morning,
you, Your
Sergeant.
Honor.
Good morning.
You're in civies today.
Yes.
So just to recap, you seem to have a lot of experience, 10 years supervision, correct?
Correct.
15 years as a law enforcement officer, 2 years of which was in detention.
17 total.
So it's a total of 17.
15 as a sworn or peace officer and 2 as a detention officer.
Okay. Thank you for the correction. My total was off on the total was 15 plus the 2.
Okay, this is the
And
defense
you've had all kinds of
cross-examining.
training and everything, correct?
I have.
You know, firearms, you qualify firearms every year? Been in
Do I qualify firearms?
Yeah.
Yes,
Have you been an instructor in firearms at all?
for 2 years.
Okay. And at this time, you were, though, working in admin, you said. What is that? What did you do there?
In December 2022, I was assigned as the administrative sergeant / training coordinator. That was my position during the incident.
Okay. And so what's the admin part about?
Admin sergeant is, it's a position within the sheriff's office that takes care of administrative duties. Again, one of them being training coordinator, which I ensure that all officers are up to par with their training or yearly training as per AC Post guidelines. One of the other things that I did during that time was be in charge or supervise the school resource officers and the DARE officer as well. That's another duty of the administrative sergeant. And as a general instructor, I also ensure that other general instructors within the department have proper lesson plans and training material when any sort of a training was required, and also scheduling training for detectives, officers, deputies, eventually also detention personnel.
We're going to speed
again,
this
that's
up
what I
just
can
a little
remember.
bit.
Thank you for that. And how long were you in that position?
I was there since December 2022, and I went back to the road December 2023.
Okay. So all of December, oh no, end of December. So all of 23 pretty much. So 1 year.
Yes.
And in January 30th, that would have been your role at that time as far as your duties, correct?
Correct.
But whether it's low in staff or people were tied up for whatever reason, you offered assistance in this case, correct?
I was out on the road patrolling at that point.
Okay. So, but your job was not a patrol officer, correct? At that time.
Could you repeat the question for me?
Your job at that time was not patrol.
I was not assigned to the patrol division.
Right.
No, but he was
But you
working
signed
the
in on this
after
call when you heard what
after
the
duty
nature of the call
extra
was and knowing the availability of everybody, correct?
extra hours.
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to get that straight. So you know how important it is, training, right?
Yes,
Protocol, procedures. These are things that are important for you, right?
correct.
And the department and everyone that works as in law enforcement, right?
Yes,
Matter of fact, it's so important that it's important to have ongoing training all the time in different areas of your job set, right?
yes.
Okay. And it starts with your original training when you became a police officer. How long were you in your training to become a?
My basic academy was a total of 17 weeks.
And although you've been away from that for at the time of this offense and now for quite a lot of years, but you do too also go to training and keep these skills and procedures updated, correct?
Yes,
All right. And there's a reasons for protocol training of procedures. There are good reasons why you are trained in this and why you should follow it, correct?
yes,
I mean, you just can't be a cowboy and approach a scene the way you want. You're supposed to approach it through your training skills and protocol and through your supervisor, correct?
yes.
Okay. It's not a trick question. Okay.
I'm just trying to listen to everything you're saying.
That's fine. And if you don't understand me, just let me know, okay? But what I'm saying is, crime scene. There is a training set of guidelines out there that you've been trained on, and everyone else that's in your department or any law enforcement department, a protocol, what to follow, what to do, right?
Correct.
Okay? You wouldn't want someone to walk through a crime scene and tamper with it and alter evidence, right?
No.
Okay, so there's a reason for the procedures on how to handle it. Is that right?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, and we're going to get back to that. What I'd like to know is, I heard something that you said yesterday, and you were referencing that you felt that you, in your mind, had probable cause that you wanted to get a search warrant. And you said it pretty early in the process of everything. So my question to you is, you formed an opinion that Mr. Kelly might be a suspect in this case, and to the point that it wasn't just suspicious, in your mind, it was enough to get a search warrant, right?
Correct.
Which rises to the next level of probable cause, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I'd like you to educate these jurors on why you thought at that moment that you had probable cause when you made that comment that you were going to get a search warrant.
Your Honor, objection. This has already been ruled on by the court, and
I'm
this is
not
confusing
challenging
for the
the-
jury.
Sorry. I'm not challenging I'm challenging the reasoning that gets us in this court, why he led to the arrest. I don't have a motion to challenge the probable cause. I just want to know why he, who testified yesterday, thought he had enough evidence. What was the evidence?
And Your Honor, I don't think probable cause is the same as a search warrant, probable cause for a search warrant. I think this is confusing for the jury, and the court's already ruled on all of these issues, the search warrant and the probable cause.
It was his testifying statement.
Overruled, the witness can answer.
Thank you, Judge. Sorry.
Wow.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so again, the day of January 30th, 2023, I learned about the incident early in the afternoon, 2:33 p.m. And again, at the 100 Sagebrush or 100 Willow Circle, there was reports of an active shooter. That was the report I received. That's the information I had.
Okay, let me ask you something along that line. We'll kind of break this down so you're not speaking in a narrative format. So you have an active shooter. It was at the same location that you're hearing this second call, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And is it true that the victim was Mr. Kelly through, however it got to your department, he was the complainant or the victim in the case, correct?
He was the reporting party initially.
Okay.
Well, no, I will probably make a correction on that. The reporting party to the sheriff's office was United States Border Patrol authorities who had received the call from Mr. Kelly.
Okay, so then that makes him the potential victim, the caller, the complainant.
Correct.
The complainant and reporting party, yes.
Reporting party.
He's not
was
gonna give her the word
The one that
victim.
you directly, your department heard was Border Patrol. But it was about a person complaining of shots being fired at his home, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So
He's
you
not gonna
learned
say
that
victim.
Kelly was reporting shots fired on his property, a shot fired on his property, correct?
The report I remember was the complainant reporting he was being fired at and possibly he returned fire.
Possibly going to return fire, right?
Possibly returned fire. Again, the details of the call, I was not present when he called Border Patrol.
So you think, based on the info you got, which you can only account for what you heard, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
That he had already returned fire, possibly.
Possibly.
So this is forming in your head, right?
Yes.
And so did you anywhere later learn that when he made the call that he hadn't stepped out of his house yet to even try to return fire somewhere?
Those details I don't have, no.
Okay, so you don't know that today? Do you know that now?
I do know that he chased down the group. That's my
Okay.
understanding.
Where did you get Chase?
From the call received, again, that's a call we received from Border Patrol.
Okay. And so we also have a possible change of definition here. Did you later learn that all he did was went in the direction, checked out his barn, checking out his animals? Did you learn that later, or do you still believe he chased after them? Today, do you believe your information shows that he chased after them?
My information, my belief was that he went after the subjects, yes.
Once again, that is not.
Was that part of
what-
your calculation on your
Was reported.
determination that Mr. Kelly might have done this?
Again, that's the information I received initially. I did not get any
That's
other
what
details
happens when
contradicting
you have different
right.
agencies making phone calls.
All right, so
And,
just to recap.
it's like the
of
telephone
Your
game.
initial call from earlier and see if there's anything missing, okay?
Mr.
Is that
Kelly
was an active shooter,
contacted
he was
Border
possibly
Patrol.
fi- he
They
was fi- possibly
contacted
fired
Sheriff
at and
Office.
returned fire.
Thank you for joining
And
me,
then
whoever's
that he went
watching.
and chased after them. Does that sum up what you heard from the
That's some of the
earlier?
information I heard, yes.
Okay, nothing else is missing. And that's when you arrived at this location at this time, this is in the back of your mind, correct?
Yes.
Okay, what else leads you in this direction? Is there anything about that that makes them guilty?
Could you repeat that question?
Is there anything about that that makes them responsible for committing a crime?
Not referring to the initial call, no, not at that point.
Okay. What happens next that you come to this conclusion?
Again, do you want me to start from the time I received the call on the radio and continue, or?
Whatever formed your opinion that you believe there was enough probable
I'm
cause
waiting
to
for
get
an
a search
objection.
warrant, and that he was a suspect in your mind.
But the determination of a search warrant is not made by me.
But you made a comment yesterday about getting them out of the house so you can
Yes.
get a search warrant.
Yes.
And so you already formed that opinion based on your testimony, and I'm trying to figure out why you believe he was a suspect. What other evidence would happen next? You said your earlier events of what you heard. Then you arrive at this scene. Tell me what added to that to make you believe this.
He's
Okay,
not going to give it
The search
to
warrant was
her.
obtained on probable cause that a crime had been committed at the property. I never made any instruction to any of the deputies to arrest Mr. Kelly.
No,
as far
but you
as being
did
suspect.
say yesterday
Okay,
that you
so
believe that they were
it's okay
involved
to
in the
search a
crime,
victim's
therefore
home?
detain them.
With a search warrant, if the crime is outside at over 100 yards, 115 yards away from the home,
Objection form.
is that,
Overruled.
go ahead.
Again, I will start to provide the details so the jury can understand why I made that determination during my investigation. So, yes, listening to the previous call, the information received, again, I was working Operation Stone Garden, which is an opportunity that we get as police officers or sheriff deputies to be
Overtime.
out there and patrol the areas of the county, which I'm still a peace officer and in full authority. I can still make traffic stops, arrests.
He's
be a
just
police
pulling
officer.
overtime.
So I received a call of another Border Patrol agent. At this point, I don't know who the person was. United States Border Patrol contacts the sheriff's office again, saying that the same individual that had called from 100 Sagebrush or 100 Willow Circle called saying that he had struck something.
Okay, let's talk about that.
That's hearsay. You're not depending on the evidence in front of you,
So
you're
you
depending
get
on hearsay.
dispatched to tell you that he had struck something. And so therefore, that sounds like almost a possible confession, right? An admission of shooting someone could be an admission of a crime, correct?
I never heard the word shooting.
Okay, so you
Shot
had
someone is still a
information that says
crime.
he had struck something. That was the transmission, correct?
Yes.
Okay. When you see a bullet hole later, then you put it together that maybe he admitted to shooting.
That was a suspicion I had at the time.
Okay, thank you.
And did you later learn that the actual communication that was taken from the Border Patrol was something may have been struck? Different meaning, isn't it?
I never learned that, no.
Didn't know that?
No.
So right away, you're formed an opinion because of information that wasn't accurate. Would you agree, if that's true?
The information I had, that's the opinion I formed with what I had.
Communication is always important in your job, isn't it?
Yes.
So you add, he had struck something, and add that to a bullet hole, and you might have a suspect. Possible?
I had a crime scene at that point.
A
Well,
plus
and that
A
gives you a possible
equals
suspect
D.
in your
Meaning,
mind? Or that
no.
didn't phase you at all?
At that point, Mr. Kelly was only an investigative lead. Again, I never said he was a suspect. And he
Yes, you
was
did
free to
yesterday.
Be in the house. Again, we never handcuffed him, we never detained him. I had a crime scene, and we needed to process that crime
You
scene.
detained
Well,
him
do you
and
know
his
that
wife.
he
You
wasn't
put him
allowed
in
in his house
handcuffs.
when he asked for a jacket or a glass of water?
I wasn't present when he was with the other deputies.
So you can't say that then. You don't know that. You don't know whether he was allowed to be go anywhere.
For safety, I will think he was not allowed to do that.
Okay, so now that makes him not a victim, but a potential suspect, right?
Yes.
Possibly, yes.
Okay. And so all you know now is some poor communications and that there's a man about 115 yards away from this house with that's dead, deceased, with a bullet hole, correct?
Objection form and argumentative.
Overruled.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so what else formed your opinion? You were moving along with that.
Again, I heard the call about the person calling back that he, again, the information I received was that he had struck something. And based on the earlier call of an active shooter, the complainant, Mr. Kelly, was also found carrying a rifle during the interaction the deputies had with him on the previous call. And I was in the area of Highway 82 by the airport, which is pretty close to the Keno Springs residential area. Being that we had reports of an active shooter earlier, now we have somebody claiming someone was struck. The
Something.
closest deputy was myself and Deputy
Someone.
Rafael Lopez.
Something.
Again, one of my jobs and my duties is to preserve life and property.
Well,
So
let me stop you there
Whoa,
because you had
whoa, you
information
said
someone was
someone.
struck. It was he had struck
So,
something.
I'm
Let's just make it
saying-
clear. That was your information.
Yes.
Okay. So that changes the tone of
Yes.
that. I just want to make sure the jurors understand why you think this versus what was the real communication that was provided originally
Amen.
from a Border Patrol agent by the name of Jeremy.
Okay.
Okay? All right.
That is so true, y'all.
So you get out there.
Correct. I respond, being that I'm one of the closest units. I do not remember where the other deputies were or where the actual patrol sergeant at that point was at. So myself and Deputy Lopez respond. Deputy Lopez was a lot closer than I was, so he got there first. We make.
Okay, let me hold you right there. I'm going to break this down, so keeping you from doing a narrative, okay? All right, I'm supposed to ask a question, you're supposed to answer. It's a procedure.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So the fact that he had a gun earlier, and you don't know that he was in the house when a shot was fired, but my question is, do you have any reason to believe that Mr. Kelly is not allowed to have his weapon on him, especially on his property? Is there any law violation?
Nope.
No, not that I know.
And if there was danger out there, including, I would assume, wouldn't it be just a proper procedure if you are a person that believes in defending yourself to be able to do that, correct?
Correct.
Could you repeat the question again?
Grabbing a gun to protect him and his wife, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, is there?
No.
Okay. And you would do the same for you and your family, wouldn't you?
To protect my family?
Yes.
Yes.
And grab a gun if you needed it, if you felt that the danger rose to that level of defense needed.
Correct.
Hearing a shooting, hearing a bullet outside your door is a lawful reason to grab your gun to defend yourself, correct?
It
Correct.
calls for a legal conclusion.
He understands this.
He understands. I think he does. So-
Still an okay.
To
He
answer
can
your
answer.
specific question?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, if you have deadly force, you could use deadly force if needed, correct?
Correct.
In defending yourself.
All right, I'm gonna-
Sorry, I'm trying to
that-
push
that
a
is-
candle.
Okay. I'll withdraw that question.
She needs to move on.
So I'm just saying that you have to make observations when people do actions on whether they violate the law. And I'm looking from your law enforcement perspective that there is nothing wrong with defending yourself and having your gun on you. Is that correct?
Correct.
Having a gun is not a crime. no.
Okay. And if you, and I'm just saying, if there's danger out there, that makes it more reasonable that a person would have their gun on them, correct?
Yes. So,
If you
in
know
other
there's
words,
danger out there, is there anything unreasonable about grabbing your gun to protect yourself in event something
there's
happens?
not, no.
Okay. Now, being on a ranch, it's also reasonable that there's a lot of natural things that could harm
Amen.
you from the terrain, like wild animals, snakes, things like that, that having a gun on you would be okay, correct?
correct.
Yes.
Okay, and this is Arizona allows guns, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Stop a second. I'm going to give a limiting instruction to the jury. So we're talking about some legal concepts with these questions. These questions are being allowed not to instruct you on the law. That's my job. These questions are being allowed because, as I understand it, the line of questioning, correct me if I'm wrong, but the line of questioning is directed towards the information that the witness had that led him to take the actions that he took later. All right?
Correct.
Is that fair to say?
That's accurate, Your Honor.
So we're not instructing you on the law, but that'll be my job at the end of the case. The questions are just designed to elicit testimony about the reasons.
In other
why the
words,
witness
you're just
took
making
whatever
sure
actions he
that
took in the future.
Mr. Kelly was within the law to be standing
Thank
there
you,
with
Judge.
his weapon
Sorry to
in
interrupt you.
hand
No, I
I
understand.
thought it was an appropriate.
on his private property, even though the sheriff or
So,
the
and I'm just saying, if someone says they have a
Border
gun
Patrol were there.
by itself, I'm just trying to show that you're coming up with reasons as to why you formed your opinion, and I'm trying to maybe add it all together is why you did, but I'm just trying to get there. So moving along with the
And your
fact that,
objection to counsel testifying?
Well, I think she just repeated basically what I just said, so in a different way, so. But anyway, let's.
Moving along.
Move to some questions.
yes, sir. So what's the next thing that raised your concerns that he was the suspect, and it rose to the level of becoming the suspect?
Okay, so again, I arrived at the property and make contact with Mr. Kelly. He then told us that there was a dead person in his property, made comments about that being a problem for him. He didn't want any trouble. And then we proceeded to the location where the person was found deceased.
Was he cooperative?
He was.
Okay. Would you agree finding a deceased person on your property would be very alarming?
Could be.
Would you agree, knowing what might have happened earlier, and then later, all of a sudden there's a dead body, would rise that concern even greater?
It could.
Assuming he did nothing, okay? Showing no guilt to this at all, would it be fair to say it would be reasonable for him to be very concerned and trying to help you come to other alternatives why there's a dead man on his property? Is there anything unreasonable about that?
I will be guessing at that point. I wouldn't be able to answer that.
But you yesterday said that he was offering all these excuses to you, alternatives, as if he was concerned and very bothered by it, whatever your terminology was, and I can look back at my notes, but you did testify to that yesterday, didn't you?
Yes, I did. And one of the things that also made me suspect that he was nervous and trying to excuse something is that instead of calling 911 to render aid, he called Border Patrol, which will delay the response, and there's miscommunication and things of that nature. So that's
The
another
man
thing
was
that
already
also
dead,
I
cold, not
found to be,
breathing,
suspicious.
obviously deceased.
He is a rancher that's been there, I don't know, a decade, whatever amount of time. And Border Patrol, the liaison program has, would you agree, has probably reached out to all the ranchers along the border to say, we're here for you, correct?
Correct.
And he's regularly discussing the trespassers and the environment of trespassers around in their communications with each other over these years, correct? Possible?
I will be guessing. I don't know what type of contact they have.
Okay. Well, would it be unreasonable to think that might have happened?
Your Honor,
Again.
calls for speculation. Objection.
Keep going, please.
Again, I don't know what type of contact the liaisons have with the ranchers, so.
They are law enforcement, correct?
Correct.
Okay. They come with guns, correct?
Correct.
And cars, patrol cars, correct?
Yes.
Okay. They have a jurisdiction along the border, correct?
Yes.
Okay. It may overlap a little bit of the sheriff's department area, and then you guys have your rules about who does what, correct? Jurisdiction-wise. Their territory overlaps your territory as a sheriff. Would you agree to that?
Correct, yes.
Okay. And so the duties may be divided based on which one falls under which event that's happening, but that's something that you two work out on your own on who has jurisdiction if there's a common area. Correct?
Among agencies?
Yes, absolutely. The
Yes.
Border Patrol and Sheriff.
Yes.
Okay. And so Mr. Kelly called law enforcement, had a number on his card on his refrigerator, and was most comfortable getting a cell phone directly for help. And you find that to be concerning?
I find it suspicious, yes.
Okay. So he called law enforcement, and you think sheriffs will get out there faster? Would it surprise you that Border Patrol showed up earlier on the earlier incident versus the sheriff?
Would it surprise me?
Yes.
No, they got the call first.
Okay. And so you can't sit there and say to this courtroom right now that you would have always responded quicker. That's not necessarily true. Correct?
I never said that, no.
Okay. So it's suspicious that he called law enforcement. That's what you're telling the jurors today, right?
Again, a common citizen will usually call 911 immediately.
Oh, no,
A
no,
border
no, 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 no,
common
no, 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 no,
citizen
no, no,
may
no,
be
no, no,
trained
no,
to
no, no.
look-
I'm going to stop right here, y'all. He was told he was told for sure by Border Patrol, but I think I heard someone say the Sheriff Department and Border Patrol, they have like this little agreement that anything that happens that involve an illegal person's coyotes on their property, they're to call the ranch liaison for Border Patrol. And that's what he's done all this time in the past. So you're telling me as an SO that now and I'm getting irritated, y'all. You're telling me as an SO that you made a judgment of possible guilt because he didn't call 911. If the guy had had a pulse or was breathing at the time he found him, he would have called 911. But it was very apparent this person had been dead. The dog had sniffed him. The guy was already in rigor mortis. What else can you do? He called Border Patrol. That is not an admission of guilt. And boy, I got to tell you, that gives me the screaming goat. Because that is an assumption that you, as an SO, are not allowed to make.
A little bit different. Did it occur to you that way?
Again, I can't speak about that. I'll be guessing, ma'am.
Go ahead with your reasoning. What's the next thing that you thought was?
Okay, proceeded to where the body was located. Once the body was found, the position of the body, the injury or wound to the body, the position of the body in reference to the location of the Kelly residence.
Okay, let's talk about the position. So yesterday you testified that his right side was facing the house. Is that what you're talking about?
The right side, yes.
Did it occur to you that this is just a bleeding wound? In other words, wasn't a hit in the brain. It was something in the right side that came out in the chest, which you later learn as you examine the body, correct?
Correct.
Can you repeat that question again?
That this entrance and exit was just in the flesh. It wasn't something that would be like the brain, correct? And that he was bleeding internally, most likely. Would that be fair?
I did not see injuries to the
We
brain.
have gone,
Okay.
we've gone
Why?
to
Is
red.
because when people are bleeding out versus being shut down completely with their brain and the stems, you know, the spine or something that decapitated someone, did it occur to you that this person took steps, walked, was trying to go to the house maybe to
Prosecution is
get help?
shaking their heads.
Did it
They
occur
are
to
not
you
happy.
that just because he fell down in one direction didn't mean that's how he was hit?
No, it did not.
Okay. So what in your training says that you don't take a couple steps and fall over a different way, or fall backwards, or walk a half a block until you can't survive anymore? What part of your training says that doesn't happen?
You made
It's not a trick question.
assumptions.
Where have you been trained to form the opinion, I'm going to reword it, that just because he took a bullet, that he dropped in the position of where the bullet came from?
During some of the training I've received, and I believe this goes back to firearms, there's instructors who are well-trained and more experienced than I am, who have made comments during instruction that per se a training of a sniper, they get trained where they usually are trained to aim for the brain, which it's our computer and will definitely stop somebody's body from any sort of movement.
But there was no bullet
And there's
hole in the
also,
head. It was in the
a
back
comment
and out
made by
the
instructors
front
during training
sternum.
that snipers are also trained to aim for the heart, because the moment they strike the heart, there's arteries in the heart that will stop or cease movement completely. Being that I saw the body, I saw a round on the side, what I believe at that point to be an entry wound. I did believe that the round could have struck the heart, which would have completely ceased movement on the subject.
Okay, so I'm going to go out here in the well of the courtroom, and I will speak up, Judge. The sniper is out where the jurors are, okay?
That's
Correct.
not speaking up, my dear.
I get shot towards my back side of my body, just like the scenario here, okay? And feeling the pain, I do this and fall down. Now my body's turned. What makes you think that could not have happened?
Again, I will be guessing. My determination was based on what I observed at the scene. I did not see anything else.
You only saw a hole pointing at a house, but you have nothing about this by itself shows that that's the direction of the shooter.
Again, based on what
True.
I observed, my belief
Yes.
was that the round or projectile that came and struck the decedent or victim came from the direction of the house. That was my belief.
Come
based
on,
my
man.
observations.
There was testimony from a witness that he was on the back, laying on his back. Did you move him?
Who was on his back? I'm sorry.
The decedent.
No, I did not move him. And he
So
was
who
face
turned the
down.
body?
Okay, just wanted to get that in. So what else formed this opinion? Moving with your other points that drew your conclusion.
Again, I based my opinion on the totality of all those points that we're hitting on, not just one of them individually. I will not make a determination based on just one of them. I added everything, and my suspicion was that the person that was deceased at the property, he died because of a homicide. At that point, that property became a crime scene. Even though the person was outside the fence line, Mr. Kelly did say that he owned acreage or different acres of that property. So at that point, we were standing on his property, which I believe needed to be seized for further investigation based on the search warrant that will later be obtained by detectives.
You know,
You jump to the
Sergeant, I
conclusion
have
you're
no
covering your
problem
butt.
with investigation. I have no problem with you wanting to follow up. And I'm going to get to a question, I
Your Honor,
promise.
objection form.
I'll get a question.
Sustained.
Would you agree suspicion does not rise to the level of getting arrested? That it only arises to an investigation?
Suspicion, could you repeat that question?
The level of suspicion does not rise to arresting someone, only rises to the level of investigation.
Objection, Your Honor, calls for a legal conclusion.
All right, remember the limiting instruction I gave you a few minutes ago. This is not an instruction on what the law is. If there's any issue about what the law is now in this trial or what happened before, that would be something for me to decide. Again, the limiting instruction, which I'll repeat, this is not to inform you about what the law is. This is only questions designed to obtain information from this witness about the basis for the decisions that he made.
Overruled.
Proceed with the answers.
Yes, please.
If you remember the question.
Suspicion.
So, yes, in my understanding,
Excuse me one second. So the objection's overruled. I'm sorry.
in my understanding, reasonable suspicion would allow me to detain and seize. Probable cause is what will allow me to search. That is my understanding, if that's
Okay.
the question you're asking.
Suspicion allows you to investigate. You agree with that, right?
Suspicion allows me to detain and investigate further, yes.
Okay. But it does not necessarily rise to the level of arrest or search. You need more.
Suspicion, merely suspicion, no.
Okay. So
But
you
that's
just
all you
said,
had.
your words were, and I was using yours, you had suspicion. Okay? I will agree. You had suspicion.
Okay, I'm really liking where she's going here. What some of you may not have seen, or there's been a lot of videos, is that at some point this gentleman on the stand ordered that Mrs. Kelly be get her coat and purse and be put in the back of a patrol car, and Mr. Kelly to be handcuffed and put in the back of a separate patrol car. They were driven to the police department. Miss Kelly did not return home until after 2 a.m. She was not free to leave. You know, when you're under suspicion and they're starting an investigation, they will. I've never known a police department to do it this way. If something is under suspicion, they may say, we need you to get in the car. We need you to come down. We need to ask you some more questions. We'll follow you or whatever. But that means she's free to come and go. But when they locked Miss Kelly and Mr. Kelly in the back of the sheriff's department vehicles and shut the doors, and they were not able to get out of those vehicles, that's detained. And when you put handcuffs on somebody, and I don't know if they read him his rights, but they handcuffed him and put him in the back of their car. They did not handcuff Miss Kelly, but they did not give her Miranda rights either.
Okay? So I'm trying to get you to,
Sustained.
That's why she's
Sorry,
asking
we don't
these
need counsel's,
questions.
whether you agree or not.
Yes, sir.
Or your opinions, just ask questions, please.
yes, sir. So I'm trying to get you to what took you to the next step that allows your department, in your mind as a supervisor, also on the scene, one of the first officers on the scene, what rises to the next level of search that happened and or arrest of Mr. Kelly and Mrs. Kelly?
So based on what happened in the decisions I made was, again, I had suspicion that a crime had been committed. At that point, I believed that I had authority to seize the property, which is detain. I never instructed to arrest Mr. Kelly. That is incorrect. I never instructed for Mr. Kelly to be arrested.
They were
Now, the
detained and
probable
he
cause
was
to
arrested.
search the home, that came after, which was not determined by me.
Okay. So nothing you've observed rises to that level at this time
To
To
the level
detain.
of,
of search or arrest. That wasn't in your determination at the scene?
the determination was to detain and seize the property pending a search, which was not made by me. No.
Who made the decision at the scene to search and get a search warrant, get Mrs. Kelly out of the house and get a search warrant, and to arrest? Whose decision?
Again, the decision was not made to search, it was made to seize the property until a search warrant was obtained, later search the property.
Okay,
No
so-
decision was made to search anyone.
Okay, I'm going to clarify something here. Ugh, sorry, my mic's giving me a little fit. It is proper for them to, if I have my computer sitting here on the floor next to me, and it's a very nice big baby, And if they believe I've committed a computer crime and they are fearful that I'm going to remove any evidence, delete evidence, which technically they can find immediately if I did it. But if they're concerned that I'm going to do something to alter what's on the computer, they can ask me to step out of this office. They can sit in this chair and they can look at that computer. They can do whatever they want or in the room, sit here, play puzzles, watch TV on their phone, but they can't touch anything. They can't touch it. Only when the warrant comes can they touch anything in this room on this desk, anything connected to the computer. If they were to sit on my desk and I have tabs open and they decide that they're going to go into my files and start looking just to see if they can find something that will help them get that warrant faster, anything they get is illegal, can't use in court. I kind of think I know where she's going with this. When Miss Kelly was asked to get her coat, she was also asked to turn on all the porch lights. That means 3 sides of the house, or at least 2 sides. The porch light at the main front door, she could just reach in and turn on. But to turn on the back porch light, she had to walk clear through the house to the door that went out to the back porch. There was no consent. No one asked if anybody could come in the home. They can't just walk in your home, even if there's a dead body on your property without consent or warrant. A female police officer followed Miss Kelly through the house without asking while she did that. That gave her an opportunity to look around the house and see if there's anything that she can see out in plain view that could help them get that warrant faster. If a gun, which Mr. Kelly's gun, he often hung on the coat stand next to the door, was hanging there, but it wasn't. But just say, argument's sake, it was. And they walked in the house, and on the way back to the door, she saw it. The sheriff officer saw the gun and then said, the weapon's inside the house, get the warrant. That's illegal. They didn't ask Miss Kelly if they could come in. They did not get permission. They just walked in. They told her to get her coat, get her purse, turn on the lights. That's it. So any evidence they collect based on that entry should be dismissed. That's why these questions are so important.
Okay, so you seized the property. When and who made the decision to arrest the Kellys?
The decision was made after by the Criminal Investigations Division. That's who decided what.
So do you know the name of the person?
I don't.
You don't know who did?
Again, there's a few detectives who made the decision to make the arrest. I am not aware of that.
Let's talk about,
But you decided to
you were
detain
not
them.
there with the criminal, you said the criminal investigation part of it. You're not a crime scene investigator, is that right?
Correct.
You are at this time, do not have the role as a crime scene investigator. People were called to come with that, right?
Other resources were called in, yes.
Okay. Your job at this time was administrative sergeant, not a crime scene investigator, correct?
I am an investigator anytime I'm on duty, ma'am.
Okay. So then you know proper protocol and procedures of doing a crime scene, correct?
Correct.
Let's get some photos into evidence first, if you don't mind.
This is going to get spicy, y'all. I need to get that in my repertoire. This is going to be spicy, y'all.
And just for the record, may I approach this witness? I'm going to show you XX, defense XX. These are the same photos that were on the disc from yesterday, but printed. Some of them, a lot of them printed, okay? So
I am going to have to play with volume.
Just flipping through each one, verifying it's the same type of photos, but now on hard copy. Keeping the order if you can.
Do you want me to go over all of them?
Look at all of them. They're all marked as one. Yeah, just flip them over so these.
Objection, Your Honor.
To see the exhibit.
Yes.
Well, that's perfectly fine. The other lawyer does it too. They have a
So
right
if
to
I
look
understand
at
what
the
the exhibit
exhibit.
is, purported to be anyway. These are hard copy photographs of the photographs that we were presented yesterday before.
Yes, on the disc. But there are evidence.
But they're not in the same order I observed yesterday,
No
right?
order,
Okay.
no order. Just verify that you can identify all these photos.
When were they taken inside the home? That's going to be the important question. Anything that was taken prior to search warrant can't be used. She's going to try and impeach him. If she does, I'm going to be happy because it doesn't sound like to me they did a proper investigation. I think he jumped to a lot of conclusions and he made assumptions on how somebody handled a very unusual, stressful situation. We don't always make the perfect choices in those situations. And if the first person you think to call is Border Patrol, they are a responding agent. They can do CPR, first aid, just as much as a sheriff officer could. If the sheriff office was called and then they send out a police officer, then, I mean, if the sheriff office sent out EMS, they would have to, and he said, I got there first. I'm first on scene. I provided first aid. But there was no, I mean, that's what I'm trying to do, but he was already deceased. He's making the assumption that he deceased in the time between the time the body was found and the phone call was placed. The body was most likely deceased after 2:40 in the afternoon when the gunshot went off and the phone call was placed to Border Patrol. So the guy died as early as 2:40 in the afternoon and laid there till now 5:24. Okay? A little over 3 hours. So what is the problem? I'll be right back. I don't know why I got that message. That message was 2 days old. That's weird. Okay, so it's the warrant issue is very important. And if anybody stepped foot in that house before the warrant and any evidence is being used at all before that warrant was gotten, case dismissed. Just saying. And they could not retry him because of double jeopardy. As far as I know. I'm not a lawyer.
Let's go ahead. We'll talk a little bit about photographs, just to fill the time a little bit. Photographs can be admitted into evidence. This is just in general. Does not have to be. It used to be you had to produce the person who took the photograph. You took this photograph, took it on such and such a date and time, and so forth. Well, the rules of evidence evolved and changed. Photographs can be introduced. It doesn't have to be the person who took the photograph. Anyone can look at a photograph, and if they can say this is a true and accurate representation of what I know or what I saw that day, it can come in. So, for example, if I showed any one of you a photograph of one of your parents or grandparents, even though someone else took the photograph, you didn't take it, but you knew what your grandmother looked like or you knew what your grandfather looked like at that point in time, you can lay the foundation for the admission of the photograph. All right? So with that brief, but probably largely irrelevant instruction on the law, having filled the time, looks like we're now ready to go.
And Your Honor, I just want to make
When
sure.
we have more
that-
time, I'll talk more about hearsay. Okay.
I just want to make sure that what we've just looked at is actually what's getting moved to.
You can go look at it.
She doesn't trust no one, and neither does the other one, and that's being a good lawyer.
By the way, in that line, we're doing that. It's not a problem now, but down the road with AI, artificial
lady-
intelligence, we're all really worried about that because
The
that's
lady
going to have the capability
behind
of
Mr.
manufacturing a
Kelly right
photograph
here is his
that
wife.
can be completely fabricated with no ability to determine whether or not that's really an accurate photograph. That artificial intelligence is going to, not there yet, hopefully it evolves to that, when it evolves to that point in time where those kind of things happen, I will be retired and I won't have to deal with that. But it is a problem, you know, it's qualitatively different technology that can really cause a lot of problems in a courtroom, for example, because we have to be sure everything's authentic, you know. Something else to look forward to about the future.
I like this judge. I like the way he is very conversational with the jury and not dictative. I really appreciate that. Ma'am, what are you doing getting up and looking at that computer? You can't do that. I don't know who this woman is right here behind the guy with the purple shirt and shaved head, but she just got up and looked at the computer. I think she's a reporter. That's a no-no. You're not a part of the legal team, ma'am. Ma'am. Come on now. Not a good place to be. Oh, my neck. I'll put the lights back to normal. Put them on red because the audacity of all this crap. I'm like, really, guys? This is not cool. Not cool, not cool. I like my lights, but the only thing I hate is I cannot just push a button and get them to change. I have to do this.
Looked at all the photos.
Get on the mic, ma'am.
Recognizable crime scene photos that you either took or assisted with concerning this case and the location of the body.
Correct.
Okay. At this time, I would like to enter into evidence defense XX.
Your Honor, I don't have any objection to the admission of the photographs. However, some of them are of very poor quality and have strips of color throughout them, and I'm concerned that they may misrepresent the photographs. So long as the jurors have the CD so they can look at the actual digital photos, I'm not going to object, but I do have some concerns that those misrepresent.
Permission to publish, and if
Well,
there's
the, hold on, so the CD, we admitted that into evidence yesterday.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so let me just say, when you go back to the jury room at the close of the case for your deliberations, as I've said before, you'll have all the exhibits. Some of them will withhold, like the firearm and so forth, but we can make arrangements if you want to see that. But you'll have the CD. We'll set you up with a clean laptop computer, and you can look at those that were admitted yesterday. And if there are some of these, which I understand, haven't seen them, but I understand to be just hard copies of what you saw on the CD, you know, you can look at them both, and if there's any discrepancies, you can resolve them for yourselves. So with that caveat, Exhibit XX is admitted.
Okay.
Published to the jury.
Thank you, Judge.
I should have fast forwarded this. I'm sorry. I forgot. I'm so used to being live and not on a recording.
Your Honor, and we've been very careful about the photographs, and I'm concerned that they're getting mixed together. Perhaps if we could staple them or something. There's lots of photos over there. I've had to sort out 3 times which ones the witness did not indicate he was. So I'm just concerned that we have the ones we've agreed to and that they're separated.
I have-
Okay,
That's why I
Miss.
had you step up to look. I mean,
I did, but
that's-
now she's.
I
mixing
have
them
folders. They're separated.
Well, I assume you want to publish them, so I assume you're going to put them one by one.
Yes, and so I don't want to staple them. I unstapled them, to be honest. So I would like to enter some more photos, but I have them separated. Okay, so until I do that, I appreciate a little more confidence. May I approach the witness again?
All right. Why don't you show them, just again, right now, what you're going to show right now, just flash them by Ms. Huntley, so she. Thank you. All right, go ahead.
Let me show you defense NN. Can you identify these photos?
Are these additional photos?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I
I'm
got
just
it.
trying to get them all in, then I'll start publishing.
All right. And then.
And do these accurately depict the wallet from the deceased?
Yes.
Your Honor, no objection with the same caveat that the photos are not of great quality and may be misleading.
The same caveat, that means condition. Exhibit NN is admitted.
Okay.
But these are also on the CD?
Yes, they are, Your Honor.
Same thing, you'll have the CD.
Could I have the evidence from yesterday brought out?
Well, which in particular?
The backpack, the wallet, all the evidence that was out here. I asked them to make sure.
Where is it? Is it over? Okay.
I'm just trying to get prepared before I start going to my questions.
Your Honor, I'm sure Detective Ianso would be happy to help with the evidence if you'd like.
Very well. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. So let's talk about hearsay. Okay. You want to learn what hearsay is? Or no? Okay. And again, these are the court's rulings. I make the rulings on hearsay, but you're hearing something a lot. I assume you're kind of interested in what it is. So the official definition, legal definition of hearsay is a statement by an out-of-court declarant in court that is brought into court and offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted. All right. So let's talk about, for instance, the assassination of President Kennedy, November 22nd, 1963, distant history. Let's say there's a trial of Lee Harvey Oswald. He didn't get killed. He's in court. He's on trial for killing the president. I'm there and I'm testifying as a witness. Question, Mr. Fink, do you know who killed President Kennedy? Yes, I do. All right. How do you know? That's foundation, remember? How do you know? I know because my cousin was there and he told me. Well, my cousin's not an in-court declarant. He's an out-of-court declarant. And my basis for what I know is what he told me. I wasn't there. Now I'm going to say Oswald killed President Kennedy because my cousin told me, who was there supposedly and out of court, and that's offered to prove the truth that Oswald killed President Kennedy. That's hearsay. Because I don't have personal knowledge. The only basis for my knowledge, somebody who's an out-of-court declarant told me that's what happened, and now I'm bringing his out-of-court statement into court, offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted. So that's an example of hearsay. We're still working on this. All right. Now, if it's not offered to prove the truth, then it's not hearsay. All right. So we had some examples of that in this case. All right. So we allowed some testimony about, for example, what a law enforcement officer did and the next steps he or she took based upon an out-of-court declarant's statement. So let's say dispatch calls puts out something on the airwaves and says,
Thank you so much for joining me.
Oswald
I
killed
had to
Kennedy.
step out for a
all right?
second.
Go find Oswald. All right. Well, maybe Oswald did or didn't kill Kennedy, but if it's brought into court and the officer says, when I heard that, this is what I did, and that's the basis for what I did, then usually a judge will say that's admissible. It's not offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted that Oswald killed Kennedy. Could be totally wrong, but it's the basis for what the officer did. So we're not offering it for the truth of the matter asserted. It's solely offered as an explanation for what the next steps that the officer took. And I think we had some of that in this particular case. So if it's not offered to prove the truth, it's offered for another reason, explain why they did what they did, then it can come in. But jurors can't consider it for the truth because it's not offered for that purpose.
I
This is a
love
big
this
topic. I'm
judge.
just trying to
He's
fill some
such an
time.
awesome judge.
But just trying to keep you engaged and interested and maybe give a little education about things that you're hearing on a regular basis.
Oh, this
All right,
judge
we
is
ready to go?
fabulous. It
I'm
makes
running
it
out of
easy
material
to
here, so
understand.
And I'm in dangerous territory. Law
He's
school's
really
like
good about
4 years
explaining
ago.
things to the jury so they understand.
Thank you for that interruption. Just wanted to get things in so we can move along from this point.
Thank you, Your Honor,
Now-
for interrupting and taking my time.
When you go to the academy, one of the major areas that you learn and rely upon currently is crime scene and crime scene protection, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And in your training, and I do have the training manual if you need a refresher or anything, but,
Ooh,
and it's
snap.
entered, it's marked for evidence, okay?
She's ready.
And it's the Arizona Peace Officer Standards Training, Basic Curriculum Model, Lesson Plan, that type of thing, okay? So I know you go back a long ways, but you have had continued education in this area, correct?
He's a supervisor, y'all.
Crime scene protection.
I might have, I just remember when.
So do you think you forgot everything you were supposed to do?
No.
Okay, so you do know
Ouch.
the protocols, the training, and the procedures that's required of you at a crime scene.
Correct.
Because if a crime scene is altered, it could affect someone's life, couldn't it?
Correct.
Yes,
People could be falsely accused, correct?
correct.
Or a real suspect could have gotten away because of it, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so it's very important, right?
Correct.
And correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
And so in theory, the first officer, after determining, sizing up what's going on and determining their safety is always important, right?
Yes,
And then injury. If there's injury, then that would be the next important thing, correct?
Correct.
yes,
If someone's hurt, then you would want to render aid, correct?
correct.
Sometimes that could affect entering a crime scene location, correct?
Yes,
Now, the crime scene location in this situation is one where there's a body, right?
yes,
Okay, and that's about 115 yards out from Mr. Kelly's house, correct? Due east.
yes,
All right. But then there's potential other areas that could have been crime scene in this case. What would they be? Where else in this area was there potentially something should be noted as
This
a crime
guy's
scene?
giving her a difficult
The
time.
area surrounding the property, the actual house, the structure.
Okay. Did you take the time to ask Mr. Kelly what happened on that first call?
No, I did not.
So you just get this information that wasn't necessarily accurate information and relied on that and did not go back to Mr. Kelly and say, tell me what happened earlier, and that led up to the officers leaving. You didn't even get that story, correct?
No, my priority was to get to the person.
Well, once you got to the person and they're deceased, your priority could have gone back to gather more information before you formed an opinion, correct?
I needed to remain with the body, ma'am.
You dismissed another officer that was standing over the body when there, and could have remained there while you gathered more information since you were more trained than the other officer, correct?
I believe that Mr. Kelly could have been interviewed by another, possibly a detective at this point. I did not feel the need to interview him there and there.
You
By
didn't
me,
feel the need.
not by me.
Okay, but you made a pretty 5-page report, pretty detailed of your opinion that excluded the other side of the story, correct?
Correct.
I documented the facts of my observations, not opinions.
Right. But your job is to investigate. So once you have safety and, security and no medical needs, urgent needs,
Correct.
you're to assess the crime scene and its location, correct?
Correct.
And the only way to find out the locations of the crime scene to protect it would be to gather information, correct?
Could you repeat that question again?
The only way, after the emergency stuff is done, now your job is to go into crime scene mode, correct?
Once, like you said, once the scene is secure and everything is under control, I have time to make decisions to, do I wait? Do I gather more information at this point? I did not think speaking to Mr. Kelly at that point was a priority until detectives arrived.
So what you missed in assessing the situation was the locations of the possible crime scenes. You only focused on one location, the body, correct? Is that true, sir?
I repeat that question.
Okay.
It's kind of confusing.
Your only location for a crime scene that you took the time to assess was the location of the body, correct?
It was the location surrounding the body. Again, the house, the structure was also a crime scene. However, I can only be at one place at a time. So my focus was the body at that point.
Why was
Somebody
the house
else
a
was taking
crime
care of the
scene?
house.
What
Why would you
deemed
know
the
the house is a crime
scene?
I already
Good.
mentioned that I believe that the projectile that struck the decedent came from the direction of the house.
So the projectile, so now you formed the opinion he did it.
I said
Correct.
it came from the location of the house.
Part
And-
of assessing a scene is to talk to witnesses at the location, correct?
Objection asked and answered, Your Honor.
Overruled.
Correct?
Repeat the question, please.
Part of assessing a situation as you roll into a situation is to, after you do all those other things we talked about, is to gather witnesses to the scene, correct?
Correct.
So you excluded him as a potential witness by not talking to him, isn't that correct?
Again, I didn't think he was going to be interviewed by me. I knew that detectives were underway and they will conduct a more proper interview and investigation.
So, had you talked to him and he told you he shot up in the air in a different direction, maybe you would have located casings on the ground by the house, and you could have protected that area as a crime scene, correct?
Correct.
Objection, Your Honor. Compound.
Nope.
Stay.
You're trying.
Break it down. Had you learned what Mr. Kelly had to say by
They're
talking to
trying.
him as a witness, isn't it true you could have learned that he shot his rifle towards a different direction, he would have told you, at 5 subjects running, he would have told you, and he would have been able to tell you where he did it. Isn't that true? If you had talked to him, you could have learned that, correct?
I think we're at the same objection compound, Your Honor. There's multiple.
You can answer that. Overruled.
It's a long question. Repeat it, please. It's-
Had you talked to Mr. Kelly, you would have learned that the gun that he shot in the air and that there was another location that was called a crime scene.
I would be
Objection, Your
guessing
Honor.
what his statement would have been, ma'am.
If you asked him to show you, you wouldn't have been guessing, sir. Isn't that true?
Again, I will be guessing what his response would have been.
Your job is not to be in a guessing mode, but to gather information and make notes on that information. not to interpret it completely until you have all the facts.
Is that
You
true?
didn't gather those facts, so you missed out on a
can't-
location
better
that
end
would
it
be
as a
called a
question.
crime
It's gonna
scene
be objected.
location, where the casings were.
That would have been a search, which I had no authority to search the property.
Sir, he would have been possibly, because you don't know, he would have been, he would have showed
she's
you where he
getting
was
in trouble
standing if you
here.
just asked him. Isn't that true?
Objection, Your Honor. That is completely inappropriate.
Calls for speculation about what the defendant would have done, so sustained.
Could you have missed out on the fact that he would have told you where he was when he shot his rifle?
If
I
you
would have
treated
been
him like a
guessing.
witness.
That's speculation. I don't want to speculate.
Okay, guessing what, sir?
Guessing his response or his behavior after.
Because you-
something that didn't happen.
Thank you.
I never asked him.
Because you failed to interview a witness,
I
correct?
decided not to interview.
Yes.
I
Thank
decided.
you.
That's good.
Finally got to the point.
So you decided
Oh.
the only thing important was to stay out in the body, and you know Mr. Kelly is the one that took you there, correct?
Yes.
And it was starting to get dark enough that he hung a flashlight on the tree so he could make sure he could show you where that location was, correct?
Correct.
He did that on his own. No one told him to do that, as far as you know, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And when the willingness of you and I believe the other officer, who you said was who?
Rafael Lopez.
Okay, Officer Lopez or Deputy Lopez, you both walked out with Mr. Kelly, correct, to the location.
Yes.
Now, when you were talking to him originally, were you up close to the house?
We were close to the house, yes.
And so he had to take you around the fence lines, because there is barbed wire fence between the house and where the body was located, correct?
Yes.
And he had to take you around it through the gate to get you into that area where he showed you with the flashlight and the location of the body, correct?
Yes.
And that was pretty smart of him to hang that to be able to show it. I mean, right? It was helpful.
It was helpful, yes.
So he's being helpful,
Yes,
correct?
correct.
Yes.
He's being forthright, but you don't ask him again what else he knows. But you
Objection, compound, Your Honor.
strike that, Your Honor. But you do note the things that he does know without asking why. That one of them was, you said yesterday, that he knew that the body,
Let's interrupt a second. It's 10 o'clock. We can go for an hour and 15 minutes. We'll take our 30-minute mid-morning recess. We'll come back at 10:30. We'll be in recess until 10:30.
Be right, report.
Okay, y'all, if you hear a bunch of laughing, I've got people at the office who are just hysterically laughing. We're going to, I got to take my ears out. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to skim forward and continue. That's the one good thing about having this. I'll be right back. Okay, y'all, I'm back. I just had to, I can't tell you what just happened, but it was so funny. You know, I love my family and my kids. Sometimes they give you the laugh you need at the most perfect timing, but here we go.
Yes.
Okay, which I think you go on to think, well, he must have touched the body or something or whatever. That was your concern, or the fact
Correct.
that he knew it, or what? Well, he must.
I'm going to
The
skip back.
defendant, witness is coming back up to the witness.
There we go. Flash that gun, why don't you?
Good? Yes. All right, thank you. You may continue with your cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. So I was about to ask a question, I believe, on, you noted that you felt it was strange that Alan, Mr. Kelly, knew the body had rigor, correct?
Yes.
Rigor mortis.
Which I think
rigor.
you go on to think, well, he must have touched the body or something, or whatever. That was your concern, or the fact
Correct.
that he knew it, or what? Was
Is
it the
that two
fact,
questions or one? I'm sorry.
was it the fact that he knew it that bothered you? That he said it, that the body had rigor?
It didn't bother me, no.
Okay, but you put it in the report.
Yes,
Why?
because that made me believe that he had examined the body.
Okay? If you find a person that appears to be injured or deceased and not know it, even if he did, which I don't think there's anything to say that he did, but wouldn't it be a good Samaritan to see if you need to render aid? Medical assistance.
Repeat the question.
Is there anything wrong with trying to make sure this person's dead versus alive so you can render aid if needed?
No.
Okay.
She's
Just thought it
trying
was
to
odd
be
that you wrote that in your
polite,
report.
but he had to be blunt to even get it.
You don't think so?
No.
Okay. Because you can look and tell sometimes. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay, because you noted you observed rigor in the jaw. Did you? You didn't say you touched the jaw. You observed it. That means you saw it, correct?
No, I said there was rigor or rigidity in the jaw when I checked for a pulse, so I had to touch him.
In the jaw or the neck when you were touching to?
Again, I touched the neck and felt his cheek, which was cold and rigid.
Well, let's talk about your procedures as you go into the crime scene. And you remember we talked about, I mean, you do have to render aid if it's needed, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So you need to determine whether it is needed, right?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to kind of go break down some of the
Okay.
information you provided. Tell me if it's accurate. You noticed that the body was not
Chest, there we
breathing,
go.
correct?
Yes.
And you could tell because the chest rises and goes up and down if it's breathing, if you take the moment to observe, correct? Possibly.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm assuming you could circle around the body if you were looking for a face or anything. I mean, you don't have to stand, at one point by the feet or whatever. You were looking at the body, correct?
Yes.
He did the same thing that
And
this
the first thing you
SO
note
did.
is that the face is sunk into the dirt, correct?
Yes.
So that's where you
Presumably,
breathe, the
he's
nose
not
and mouth,
breathing.
right?
Correct.
And that seems to be buried in a sandy dirt, correct?
Yes.
And so it's sunken in, is what you said. So that makes it very difficult for someone to breathe, correct?
Correct.
But they could still have a pulse. I've been
And
on
you
the
noted
scene
that
when
the
that's
person's
happened.
right hand was tucked in front of his chest, correct?
Correct.
So how do you know, if I'm going to stand up at my chair, how do you know at that time it was tucked in towards the chest versus laying down towards the groin?
I can't explain why, but I saw it inside his body in front of his chest.
I see an
If
objection
somebody's laying
coming.
down, the angle back here will be very different if the person would have been touching his groin.
So you're saying, as I turn my back to you, that you could tell from this position to this position where my hand is?
Again, The way that the body was positioned and the location of his arm is not exactly as you're showing it. I can tell you that when I approached, I knew that his arm was not to his groin, was to his chest.
Now, you said you noticed blood on the right side of the person's back, correct?
Correct.
I'm going to be starting to use the Elmo. And this is coming from group already marked, Defense 00.
Test. This is interesting. I'm
gonna show you
sorry.
a couple different photos from this grouping. Okay, and all I could do is show you what photos were taken. That's all I have to work with. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay, but from this photo, you don't see any blood, correct?
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm not clear whether we're publishing this to the jury or not yet.
Oh, this is evidence marked already?
Oh, you said it's admitted.
Yes, sir,
All
I'm
right.
so sorry.
That's all right.
Did I
I
say
just-
marked? I meant to say admitted.
Good enough.
Okay, thank you for checking on me.
You have that? All right.
Okay,
You can go ahead.
and everyone can see.
Well, okay then.
All right, so from this position, we don't see blood, correct?
No.
In the same grouping, another photo from the same exhibit,
I'm trying to keep up with the gain on this.
and in this photo, we don't really see blood, do we?
No.
And these two photos I just showed you is him face down, correct?
Pardon me?
Those two photos I just showed you was him face down, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Let me know if you can't hear me.
Ma'am, we can see the photos from this. Well, it's kind of hard. They've just got so many cameras. I don't know how they cannot. But these, I think, are just the bullet casings. If we had a live feed, we'd be seeing them, but we don't.
No blood.
I'm assuming those were casings. That's what it kind of reminded me of.
Now, isn't it true that where the blood was kind of where the fanny pack was, correct? On the right side.
The blood was on the right side of the body, yes.
And that's where the fanny pack was located, correct?
Yes.
And once you moved the fanny pack, then you could see the blood. Isn't that true?
I never moved the fanny pack.
Showing again, same exhibit, pointing out to the right side, the fanny pack. And isn't that when that blood was observed at that point in time, that Mr. Kelly's response was in identification, oh, isn't that blood in helping you locate the blood?
Not from that angle and not at that time.
How do you know he didn't mean that? Sorry, how did you know he didn't mean that? Like, there's blood. Isn't that blood? To help you locate the blood.
I don't understand your question. You're asking me to guess on his.
But you did guess yesterday and told us that you thought it was weird that he, having medical experience, would question the blood. Maybe it wasn't a question, but a pointing out to you where the blood was. Is that possible?
Okay, but you're referring to a picture that does not relate to the moment I saw the blood, which I don't see the relation between that picture you showed me and the time he told me that there was blood on the person.
Okay, thank you for your opinion on that. So you're here to testify you didn't move the fanny pack to locate the blood.
I did not move the fanny pack to locate the blood.
So you, noticing rigor, and you check for a pulse, the first location was in the neck, correct?
Yes,
You did not find a pulse.
I did not.
So you got a man face down in the sand, and you don't have pulse, and you notice rigor in the jaw.
Yes,
And when does rigor set in?
after death.
So is it sort of fair at this point that you could believe this man was dead?
I started believing that he was dead, yes.
So you're doubting whether you had rigor, or you do believe you had rigor?
There's no doubt that rigor or rigidity was starting to set in, but again, we're talking about a human life, and I just wanted to make sure that the person was not trying or unconscious and giving him a chance of maybe living. But
Okay, but if-
again, I wanted to give him an opportunity to make sure that the person was not breathing or alive. It's a human life I'm talking about.
The subject's left cheek area felt cold to touch. Another confirmation that this man has already died. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes,
I also checked for a pulse in the subject's left arm.
yes,
The hands were cold to touch, and no pulse was found. Correct?
Correct.
I tried to move the body and noticed that rigor was slightly present in the upper extremities. Correct?
Your Honor, objection, improper reading of the witness's police report. He hasn't said that disagreed. If she wants to impeach him, she just needs to do it properly.
What? I'm just asking if this is true with the steps he went through.
Overruled, you can answer.
Go ahead, sir.
Could you repeat it again?
Yes, that you tried to move the body and noticed that rigor was slightly present in the upper extremities. Is that true?
I tried to lift the body after I checked pulse on the arm, which was the next location. I tried to check for any signs of life.
To the degree that you moved the body and also noticed a pool of blood under the person's chest and face, correct?
Yes,
Sir, do you realize that you're tampering with a crime scene?
no, I don't.
Is your crime scene investigators there at that time?
Again, at that point, I'm trying to ascertain or make sure that if the person is actually not living. My concern is this person dead? One of the reasons is because when I touched the torso or the shoulder to move him, he was still warm to the touch, which is
Is
An
he cold
indication of
or
a
is he
reason.
warm?
Okay, the point is death. And you now confirming way back a few steps ago that
That
this
he's
man
dead.
had died.
Regretfully,
You should have, is it true? You should have backed off and just protected this crime scene.
amen.
again, I'm trying to render aid, make sure the person is dead.
You
Once I
declared him
confirm that,
dead 5 minutes ago,
I
dude.
called and pronounced the person deceased, and I moved away from the person or the body at that point.
I know the defense is really working for it,
You
but I don't
noticed
think
the
it
blood
helps the
under his
prosecution.
chest and face. That means you had to move this body in a way in order to observe that. Isn't it true?
As I testified before, it was no more than 3 inches off the ground, so I could see the left side of his chest. That was enough for me to tell that there was a pool of blood underneath him.
You also note, while examining the body, I noticed what appeared to be an entry point. So, sir, we have a backpack on this man, and it was up high, but you're moving things around in order to determine an entry point, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. I think this is confusing because are you talking about the chest or are you talking about the back?
Entry point was the question.
Oh, entry point.
Just so I can clarify, your question is, did I move the backpack in order for me to see the wound on the right side of the back?
Yes.
Correct.
No, I did not.
So the backpack was always located at a higher point, correct?
Yes, because I saw the hole or perforation in the fabric even before I touched the body as I approached from the right side.
Okay.
And when you found the bullet hole entry wound, this is when you suspected Mr. Kelly as being the suspect to this death, correct?
I suspected that whatever struck the victim came from the direction of the Kelly residence.
So I'm going to go back to your training, okay? There was a lot of contact with confirmation at every level saying this man was dead.
Correct.
You would agree. You had many chances to confirm rigor, temperature, lack of breathing, lack of pulse, correct? You observed all of that, correct?
I think the
checked for
defense
pulse,
is
no pulse. I
getting
checked
into
for,
dangerous territory.
On both neck and forearm or arm, no pulse. If you said a lot of chances, I'm not too sure what you're trying to imply.
Well, the moment that you realized you could not render aid, your training, sir, is to back away and protect this crime scene, correct?
As soon as I pronounced the person, I backed away and
was
Did not
not,
touch him again.
it was not your job to investigate this body and turn it around and move it around.
I did not move it around or. At what point are we talking about the moment I arrived or after doing the processing of the scene?
I'm just looking at what you wrote, and so I can question you about it. And you did have further examination, and you're touching and checking out the body.
Again, I was trying to make sure the person was not alive.
Okay. Yesterday, you talked about the left shoulder and that you did something to that left, you touched that left shoulder.
I
What-
did touch him, yes.
Okay, explain that part of it again. I wanted to hear what you said yesterday.
Again, the person is facing down. He's not breathing. I don't see any movement or rise in the torso or chest, or in this case, back. I am thinking this person's not breathing. Yes, I have the reporting party claiming that he's dead, but I have to make sure that that person is not only unconscious. So I check for pulse. I don't find a pulse, neck, arm.
And baby girl.
When you see a dead individual or somebody unconscious, I am not gonna stand there and say, you're probably dead. I am not gonna help you.
So what'd you do with the left shoulder?
Again, I grabbed the shoulder, I lifted the shoulder no more than 3 inches because I couldn't see his face. And as soon as I saw blood on the ground in part of his face, I let him go because at that point I said, there's no way I am gonna help him. He's dead. Was there maybe doubt between the moment I touched him to the moment I touched his shoulder? Probably. I was doubting that maybe I was not, it was cold, it was January, maybe I'm doubting myself, maybe he's not.
Guys, I understand why she's doing this. She's really hammering him hard because really, honestly, the moment he knew he was deceased, he checked his neck, his cheek, the rigor mortis had set in. That's it. He's deceased. He knew he was deceased, but he continued to touch.
Not dead. But once I saw the amount of blood and I put 2 and 2 together, again, I'm making a split-second decision here. Do I continue or do I call this a dead person?
Did you have your gloves on?
Yes, I did.
Okay, I hope so, because there's now blood, right?
Yes.
All right, and you want to protect yourself.
Correct.
Do you know that, have you learned that this jacket was tested on the left side? That you might have disturbed possible DNA of someone else that might have touched that jacket? Do you understand
Yes.
the ramifications? How that could have hurt my client or shown someone else that might have done it?
What is the question?
No gloves.
Did you learn that where you touched the left shoulder was the same spot that DNA was tested and was too weak to get a reading on it, and it could have been from you touching it? How does that?
I will be guessing. I don't know what happened with that evidence.
You did not have a freaking
Isn't that in
glove
your
on.
training not to touch anything until everything is properly done?
Your Honor, objection argumentative and asked and answered repeatedly.
Overruled.
Oh, oh.
Go ahead.
Okay, which part do you want me to answer first? Again, there's
you-
multiple questions in the.
Did you learn anytime in this, up to this point, that you touching the left shoulder was the same location that DNA was tested and was possibly diluted because it couldn't be confirmed whose DNA it was?
Priority of life, somebody's life takes over me considering touching somebody to see if I need to help them or not to survive. So does that answer your question? I don't know.
Yes, so, and that would be the reason why the moment you know that there is no hope of saving this person, like the rigor, like the lack of breathing, the lack of pulse, that you should have backed off and quit looking for a bullet hole in a body.
I wasn't looking for a bullet hole. I had already seen it.
You saw through a jacket, and let's get the jacket out. May we approach?
Oh my God, y'all. He knows he's, oh, sorry. He knows he's supposed to put on gloves. He didn't have gloves on. He's the one that touched the jacket, contaminating it. Therefore, they could not get a clean DNA sample of the other DNA.
In the stand.
OMG. Holy cow.
And you wonder why this defendant's lawyer is going after him so aggressively. He touched the body without a glove. And yesterday, the prosecution was accusing the defendant of putting the DNA there.
Oh my God. This to me on a jury is huge. And the way the SO is answering these questions, he's a supervisor. He knows
Can
better.
we just have the exhibit number for the record?
He knows how. He knows. You put your gloves on before you touch a body, even in medical, because there's blood.
112, there's a dot or a hyphen, 1.
I know that. And he touched the neck and the cheek. Cold, no pulse. He checked the inside of the arm, no pulse. Rigor mortis was setting in, and he continues to move and touch the body. He should have backed away from the get-go. You can tell when someone's been deceased for a few. He'd been deceased a hot minute. So for me, I'm all like, nope, this don't work. Sorry, I had to gain it all the way up because I can't hear. I'm going to see if I can get captioning on this. Nope. Darn it. Get the mic on. Is this the jacket the deceased was wearing?
What I want you to do is, while it's laying first, identify where the bullet hole was in the jacket.
Show me where the bullet hole was in the jacket.
Hold it up.
Turn on the microphone.
So the back is showing towards the jurors. Now, I'm going to use the scissors as a pointer, and I'm going to first have you turn it, and I'm going to guide it right to the location
Wait, we need the microphone turned on.
to show a little dot in the garment that was the entrance of the bullet hole. And I'm going to ask you, without shaking, try to walk from left to right in front of the jurors, and just let them see that location of that jacket. Just get a little bit closer. Don't shake it so we don't get any debris anywhere.
Okay, you didn't get all of that, but he's walking that over to the jury so they can get an idea of where the bullet hole entry was. I think that's the back of the jacket he's showing. That is the back of the jacket. Okay. I agree with her 100%. He did not have gloves on. The DNA was found. The contaminating DNA was found.
You can just leave that there. He's
In-
going to get a new bag for it. Yeah, you can just leave it right there on the table. He's going to bring a new bag for it.
Oh, yes, Miss Bossy. She's
Or if you
very
don't-
bossy.
Whatever.
She's very bossy.
And go ahead and have a seat for now. We'll get fresh gloves when we
I have not seen the defense lawyer handle anything inappropriately. She needs to back the hell off. That prosecution woman is just irritating me. But understand now, this is only
This is
still
a
the
knife.
prosecution.
At that point, I believe it was a injury caused by a projectile. That was my belief then.
There's a lot of fraying, a lot of scraping. The jacket has other tears or defects in it. How would you know that a bullet hole went in there?
The way
It was in the middle of
the
the
way the
blood.
jacket looks right now, it's not what I remember seeing when I approached the person. And
Oh, the prosecution gentleman's
the
laughing.
blood stain was higher towards the back. That's what caught my attention to the perforation on the jacket, which led me to believe that the injury was there. There was no way the person would have been injured in another area of their body because the blood would have not gone up because gravity will pull it down. So that area of the jacket is not illustrated in this particular point because the blood is pretty much all over the jacket at this point. But when I saw it, it was strictly.
That's
in
true.
the
When
area
they
where
turned the body
perforation
over,
is.
the blood flew.
In reality, we all know gravity works. You just testified to that.
When they turned the body over to put it on the gurney to take it to the morgue is probably when blood had seeped out and soaked the jacket even more. So what he's saying is he saw the entry wound more clearly because it had less blood.
That if he was laying face down, the blood would not be going outward, upward. It would be pulling downward.
Correct.
Okay. And you probably don't know this, but most of the blood in this person remained in the body. Did you know that?
I don't.
Okay. When you roll the
Do
body
now.
over, however, then the blood, due to gravity, would have found the possible exit wound and started seeping out, causing more bleeding at that time. Would you agree?
Correct.
I did not understand the question.
When you rolled the body over back on the back, and that happened later, I'm not trying to jump ahead of us yet.
Correct.
But then the hole would have provided a exit location for the blood to come out, correct?
Yes, it's a hole in the body, yes.
Well, and gravity would now allow it to seep out like a drain, correct?
I will be guessing at that point, honestly.
The possibility is that the coat gets more saturated at that time when you roll the body onto its back.
Again, I will be guessing. I don't know.
Well, you gave us a lot of information about gravity and everything. I thought you knew.
I'm not understanding exactly the question you're asking about the blood.
Oh my gosh.
That the jacket might have absorbed more blood when it was located on the back versus when the body was on the front.
Yes.
Your heart's not pumping, sir, when you're dead, correct?
Correct, and that's what I'm trying to think what the question
The
is.
blood
If you're
would
laying
start
face down.
draining out
And there's
of
no
the
heart
hole.
beating the and squirting the blood upward.
I'm
Correct.
getting
Then that could be a
irritated.
reason why the blood would stay in the body more. But when you roll it over, now there is an exit, a hole that may allow more blood to seep out and gravity would pull it down, correct?
Correct.
Again, if the heart's not pumping, I don't have the expertise to say how the blood is going to come out of the body. I don't know that.
Oh, yes, you do.
Now, at this point, you tell the deputy to take Mr. Kelly and his dogs and go back towards the house, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you remained with the body, correct?
Yes.
And that was Deputy Lopez, right?
Correct.
And once they left, you continued to walk around the immediate area without noticing anything to indicate any kind of, I don't know, fighting or any kind of activity that might have happened around the body?
Correct.
Okay. So this terrain, what were you expecting to see?
The terrain, I was expecting to see maybe footprints, drag marks, other signs of people walking in the area, blood trail. If somebody's injured and it's bleeding, there could be a
That
potential
poor
of a
male
blood trail coming
prosecutioner
from
with
another
his
location.
eyes, head in
Any
his
other
hands. I bet he's
articles,
got a
something
headache
that would
from
indicate that this person was injured somewhere else and eventually died there, or anything that will indicate to me that somebody else was involved or was walking in the area.
Well, how in this terrain would you have noticed all that?
Like I said, I will be looking for footprints, foot sign, which is something that
I don't know how you could find
sometimes
footprints
we
in this
look at when
terrain.
we're after individuals following people.
After you'd
It's,
walked
we
through the
track
whole
people by
area.
looking at the foot sign that they might leave behind.
They didn't cordon
Well-
off the body.
Did you notice any footprints?
Not that I recall.
So there is been determined at least one, possibly more, hadn't gotten there yet, of other people that were at this location. So you didn't see their footprints. Is that what you're saying?
I don't recall seeing other footprints, no.
So if someone was there, was it your tracking ability, or was it that they probably wasn't there?
Which is the question?
That is the question. You want me to restate it?
Yes, please.
Since you
This
were
guy's
looking
being
around
difficult.
for evidence of anyone else being there, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And we've heard testimony that there was at least one person there,
Okay.
okay? You did not see any evidence of anyone being there.
No, I did not.
No other footprints, correct?
That means their footprints, the footprints of Mr. Kelly, the doggy footprints, the footprints of the Border Patrol agents, the two of them that were standing there.
No.
So is it your tracking skills that were a problem, or was it that that person wasn't there?
Again, I did not see a footprint, so I wouldn't be able to say if someone was there or not.
Asked and answered.
And just to remind the immediate area,
She didn't get what she wanted, y'all.
going to the Elmo, with the newly admitted evidence.
What?
XX.
I don't know why that was on. Okay, now she's away from the mic. I got to crank it back up again. Okay, this is a picture of the ranch property, but I can't It's you could see it on her monitor
The
barely.
terrain in this photo, and this is before you rolled over the deceased.
Oh no, that's
correct?
his body, his legs.
We got this grassy area and sandy area, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, can you tell if this grass has been stepped on or not?
Not from the picture, no.
Okay.
What about when you were there live?
And it doesn't take far to go before you hit grass and then dirt or sand and then more grass. It's just kind of woven together, correct?
Yes.
Who actually took these photos?
I believe it was Sergeant Alfonso Flores.
All of the photos?
Yes, he did. Well, as far as what you showed me, yes.
Another photo. You could see some grass around the head, but you could see dirt going out towards the feet, correct? Or sand?
Yes.
So there could have been footprints if it's a
on that
light
other
dirt and
view-
light sand. Sand and
Another
dirt do
photo.
leave footprints. Oh, the prosecution's got a lot of cleanup. She is
You can once
creating
again
down.
see a lot of sand around the body, openness to the body, and then also grass as you move closer to the head, correct?
Yes.
So it's not like this body is completely engulfed by this grass, right?
No.
There's openness to the body, correct?
Yes.
The picture shows that, yes.
Yes, thank you. And then there's parts where the grass is higher up, like this photo.
The
here,
prosecution
all fair,
is so
Yes.
done with
correct? And
this,
you claimed
y'all.
it was almost as
They,
high as
I'm
your
going to
knee,
move this up.
correct?
They are so
Maybe to
done.
your calf at least,
To my what, I'm sorry?
to your calf.
Probably to my knee, yes.
To your knee. Okay, so then why is some of the grass flatter than other parts of the grass?
I don't know the answer to that. That's nature.
Good question. No.
But you're making an observation of whether there's someone else, any signs of struggle, anyone else being there, any other footprints, any tracking. You're looking for evidence, right? But
Yes.
you don't know.
Again, what's the question, ma'am?
You're
Why
ju-
some of this grass is flattened in other areas it's not.
I do not know.
Could be someone was there.
That's guessing. I don't know, ma'am.
we had a witness that said he was with him when he
Don't know,
died. So
correct?
yes, there was somebody there.
And we could circle around the body and some parts will be higher up.
I can see the frustration here on the prosecution. I want her to ask this one freaking question. The very first day you brought a witness, no, day 2, you brought a witness that states he was there on scene when the guy was shot. There would have been evidence of him being on scene, i.e., the grass that's laid down, other footprints. But they are ignoring that fact, and it's driving me crazy. Sorry.
Some parts will be lower, correct? As far as the grass level.
Are we talking about the height of the grass or the grass actually being stepped on? That's two different things.
If it's squished, it'll be flattened or lower. If it's not been disturbed, it might be higher.
Correct, yes.
Okay. Signs of whether something trampled on that area, possibly, right?
The prosecution
Yes.
is wiggling.
but it's
They
not a
can't
sure thing,
stand
correct?
this.
Correct.
You're not a tracking expert, are you?
No, I'm not.
Been to tracking school?
No.
Did you think to call the Border Patrol out to, and use some of their tracking abilities? Like
No.
dogs, like trained agents that might help you locate?
That's a decision that should have been made by whoever responded to process the scene.
But you call people. You ask for people, the types of people. You testified to that a little earlier, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, with the fact that you knew there was something happened earlier that you didn't have a lot of knowledge but was aware of, right?
I just
That
wanna go.
earlier call.
Correct.
And now, hours later, you have another call and a deceased body, correct?
Yes.
Did you think to ask for the medical examiner investigators to get out there and determine a real time of death, earlier or later?
Not within the few minutes that I had to make the decision. That could have been made after. That was not the time for me to make the decision to do
Well,
it.
sir,
Oh, that's wrong.
you noted.
That's
that
wrong.
Mr.
Oh,
Kelly-
I got to stop. That's so wrong. Because the ME said the medical. Oh, I'm getting excited. I'm sorry, y'all. The medical examiner states. I got to scoot back and get in my seat better because I'm rocking and rolling. The medical examiner stated that she placed the time of death at the time the body was pronounced, and that if anybody was going to do any more analysis as to the time of death, they would have had to done it on scene. They would have had to call for them to go to the scene. They would have gone to the scene. They would have done the temperature probe. They would have done the rigor mortis. They would have done all of the things they do to try to determine the time of death prior to it being pronounced. But by the time the body got to Tucson, Arizona, which is hours away, you could no longer do that. It is and was his responsibility. He cannot say that. He is covering his butt.
Came up with explanations trying to assist you, or explanations, I think you believe he was trying to defend himself, I don't know. But he was trying to tell you that the police were out there already earlier and looked at this area, correct? That sheriffs were out there earlier, correct?
They were out there earlier, yes.
And that this place was already checked and there was no body, so it must have happened later. Isn't that what he told you?
That's what he said, yes.
So now we have a timeline issue. Don't you think you could have got a medical examiner out there to investigate the time of death so we would know if it was earlier or later?
Again, that's a decision that the investigators would have made after the fact.
So
Oh my
the
gosh.
quicker you get them out there, the sooner that someone could get there and observe the environment and the body and the state it was in decomposing. Agree? Do you agree that would be important?
It's important, yes.
And do you agree, as a sergeant, you are a supervisor out there and also can supervise over detectives?
Correct, but detectives have their own
Oh, so
supervisor, which
you-
I have the professional courtesy of allowing him to make the decisions that he has to make.
So, but they take longer to get there, sir. Correct?
At that point, the scene was under control and secure, so again, that was not my decision to make.
Right, or didn't choose to make that decision for the
Bingo.
investigation, correct?
That was someone else's decision to make.
Bingo. Bingo, 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 bingo. Ta-da! She's had some aha
This
moments.
is still coming from,
And the prosecution are
Defendants
wiggling in their
XX.
seats and they are
publish
uncomfortable.
another photo.
They've got a lot of mess to clean up, y'all. They've got a hot minute of a mess to clean up. I'm sorry. Trying to get the volume because she keeps going on and off mic and it's really hard to balance. Scott, we're recovery addict. You're a saint. I just need to get the equipment. Okay, guys, I'm concerned about. Can I do this?
what we're
No.
looking at is the deceased face down as you saw it, correct?
Correct.
And I'm going to also show a close-up that's coming out of,
I don't have anything on that
Defense
side.
Exhibit SS, I think.
I'm gonna make it smaller, y'all.
I'm going to show you the
I
first
don't
one in the
want.
stapled grouping.
Okay, we're gonna go audio only on this part, guys, because this is gruesome.
See that, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I would like to direct you to the baseball cap on this person, correct? And I'm going to ask that you step down and get some more gloves on. Let's take a look at that cap.
When the camera moves, I'll turn it back on because this is not very pretty. It may not turn back on, but I think they've made it smaller, so I think we'll be okay now. Sorry, I'm just trying to be respectful.
I want to imagine the cap is in this big bag, so let's see if we can pull it out. If you can locate that cap.
Get back on the microphone. So he is opening up. They had the baseball cap, the backpack, some sweaters, the fanny pack, and a all-in-one big bag yesterday. So he's having to dig through and get it. Okay, he's got it out.
This is the same cap, says California, the one that he had on his head, correct?
I couldn't read anything from the picture.
Is there another cap in there?
Turn the mic up.
Permission to walk by the jurors with this cap?
Please turn the mic up. Your tech guy was so good yesterday.
It's kind of dirty on the inside of the bill, right, underneath?
That's typical. The sweatband and underneath it's dirty because they're touching it and sweating.
Okay, while we have gloves on, I'm gonna come back to the cap, but save us some trips with the gloves. Let's, open up the, let's get the fanny pack out. And hold it up, and point to the location that the buckle is no longer there. Is that buckle?
Okay, this was found laying next to him when it was always photographed on him across his body in the front.
Yes.
And let me publish it to the jurors. Now, isn't it possible that someone tried to grab this off the person and busted the buckle?
I will be guessing.
It's possible though, right?
I will be guessing. I don't want to speculate.
Oh, now you don't want to speculate. But you were speculating earlier.
Because a fanny pack is only as good as it being worn to protect your valuables that would be inside of it, right? We wear fanny packs. And this court has seen one picture where the subject was known to have it on the chest, okay? And you didn't see that photo, have you?
No.
Okay. But
Your Honor,
another
an objection, it states facts, not in evidence. Hasn't been
Do you have a
admitted.
photo?
Hasn't been admitted. Okay, maybe I just don't recall. I apologize.
and another way
I thought the photo had been entered.
for some people would be the old-fashioned way, because I think young people like to wear it up on the chest, but it was around the waist. You've seen both ways?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
And Your Honor, can we just clarify that photo is the one that we have no idea when or where it was? Is that the one you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
We said we would update, we'd get the data.
Okay.
But I got to pause this. They're talking about a photo. They had pulled photos off of the victim's phone, and those photos showed him wearing the same clothes. The backpack was the same. The fanny pack was worn across body, and he had a radio. And some of the photos, he had binoculars. And they're trying to say that he was an immigrant trying to cross in for a better life. But the only people who carry the binoculars and radios are the traffickers. They're scouts or the trafficker themselves. So, yeah, but the reason why she's making a big deal about the fanny pack is because the fanny pack was always in every photo worn exactly the same way. All the clothes were the same. And when he was found, it was laying next to him. Now, fanny pack is not hard because if you're wearing it across your body, the clasp is in the back. So someone can just pinch it and pull the fanny pack off and empty the contents. And the same with the backpack. They couldn't pull it off, but it was up over the head. It was like laying here, like here's my Highland cow is the backpack, and it was kind of laying like this, which would mean somebody could, and they did say it was unzipped. There are several pockets on it, but it's being suggested that at some point, I'm sure we'll hear about it in testimony, that in opening statement it said it was open and that it appeared to have been ruffled through.
Now, this has one zipper, and then items can be placed in there, correct?
Yes.
And did you notice that this fanny pack was half full? You find your photo.
What was half full? Oh, the fanny pack was half full.
Items in the fanny pack, yes.
But they were on one side and not on the other side. Did you notice that?
I don't recall the exact position inside.
Okay.
So the contents were on one side of the bag and not the other, which means it was being worn cross-body. The contents were in the lower side. I'd say the left side. Well, it depends on how he was wearing it, but I would say the lower side would have been left because the zipper's on top.
And I'm gonna ask you to step out here. I'm not gonna.
If you wore it this way, the right side. So it was lower.
If and when this,
This is the backpack with contents.
I'm just putting it up against your body so they can compare how this backpack would cover the backside of you, okay? And so, would you say your body was not out of proportion to his? Was he shorter than you? Did you notice?
Get on the dang mic.
Well, I was gonna hold it up.
Your Honor, just for the record, I'm not sure
Yeah,
the
we're
jury
gonna
could
need the
hear
wit-
that.
we need
The
the witness.
witness had his back to the jury.
Right, I noticed that.
Okay.
You can
Please
you can have a
get
text
on the
to jury,
mic.
but you gotta speak into the microphone.
You need me back there?
Right now, you can be right there, it's fine.
You can move the microphone wherever you want.
Okay, and it come off the rack.
I just don't want to touch it.
Right. And I'm gonna point out a waistband on this backpack, correct? He's fine right there. Is that correct?
Yes.
But that's not what you cut. You cut the shoulder strap.
It got softer again.
Yes.
Okay, pointing it out to the jurors now.
They did cut the straps to get it off of the body.
There were clothes in this backpack. And yet, it was pulled up over the head or above the head or covering the head as you found it, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. It's a compound question. It assumes that somebody moved it and also asks how he found it.
No,
It's
he
a compound
testified.
question.
He testified. No,
She
ma'am.
said moved.
He testified that it had fallen. It looked like it had been moved and fallen over his head yesterday.
Center of your back, right? Coming off of your shoulders, the straps, correct?
Correct.
Okay. But to get at a higher, why don't you come back out and grab your, no, don't grab.
You're making me mad, ma'am. I understand why you're
Just let me
objecting.
know if you have problems hearing.
Okay. And turn sideways, look at the court, look at the judge. So I'm gonna place a normal positioning without touching you, so give or take a few inches, that most people carry a backpack accordingly, and you got an idea what I'm doing with it, don't you? You wanna put it on my back where you think, here, take the backpack, and I will turn and put, if I had it over my shoulders, where would that backpack be?
Correct.
Okay, now rise it to the level as you found it, approximately.
So when he found the body, the backpack was up high. How in the hell was it up that high if you had to cut the straps to get it off? It can't move up that high if you have to cut the straps to get it off. It may come up to here, but as high, and he said the front of the backpack, my face is down, y'all. He said the front of the backpack was up over the head and almost touching the ground. Those straps had to have been super butt loose or somebody pulled it. My bad. My humble opinion.
On his waistline, that wouldn't have gone up that high, would it? Likelihood?
Y'all, I have got this ganged up as all high as I can.
Okay? And so when you fall with this somehow had to go up and over. So I'm gonna ask you, is there a top strap? Let's zip it up. Like most backpacks have, what would you call this strap at the top?
It's a hook strap.
Okay, a loop, a strap with a loop. How's that?
It's a loop.
And if someone tried to tug at this backpack,
Oh,
the strap, that could pull
oh,
over the head.
I know where she's going. I know where she's going. I know where she's going. Okay, here's where she's going, y'all. The deceased had abrasions on the nose of his face. He had abrasions on his arms and the front of his legs and on his legs. And some of the clothing had tears in it. And she is bringing in the possible theory that someone could have grabbed that backpack and dragged him. And then when they stopped, the backpack would have been over his head. And that is so freaking correct. The weight of all the stuff in the backpack would, if you fall, if everything's weighted on the bottom, it may move up a little bit, but it ain't going to pull up over the head because the weight's at the bottom of the backpack. It more go to the side, but it wouldn't come all the way forward unless there was enough force. And just from falling, trust me, I know, I've been there. The backpack wouldn't have been that far over the head. And I can see the picture.
Now,
And the prosecution is sitting here laughing at her theory. Get on the mic.
before I move backwards, let's go to, well, we have gloves. Go out of order.
The goat wants you on the mic.
Could you go ahead and open up the, what does it mark?
State Exhibit 7979.
And what is it?
It's a wallet, brown wallet.
Okay, can you open it up?
Brown wallet. I firmly believe the guy with him killed him. Unless they can bring more evidence. Unless they can bring more evidence, I don't see this as being guilty for Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
Could you take it out? Take it out of the wallet. And could you count the total of the amount of, first of all, what kind of bills is it?
It's the Mexican currency.
Okay. Could you count the total of those bills? How many bills are there?
Okay.
You put the wallet down.
6 different bills in different denominations.
Speak up a little louder.
6 different bills in different denominations.
Oh, thank you.
Total it for me.
You get on the mic now. I don't know Mexican money.
1,640 pesos, Mexican pesos.
Sounds like a lot, but if you divide it by the appropriate rate, we would get something probably about under $100. Would you agree? Do you know
Depending on the rate, I don't know.
Okay, but you're somewhat familiar with pesos, right?
Correct.
And every day that rate changes.
Yes.
So I'm going to sum it up as something under 100. Does that sound fair?
Yes.
Okay. Now,
Yep.
where's the American currency?
I will have to check the wallet.
Go ahead, Chip.
I know she irritated me earlier with
There's
this
no,
witness, but I
American
understand
currency as
why
well.
she's being the way she
Someone
is.
wanted to come over here to work, and they were Mexican national. How would they exchange the money? How would they take their less than $100 and put it into American currency? They wouldn't have ID to do it, would they? They couldn't go to a bank without proper ID, correct?
They couldn't, but it's not uncommon to see this.
Well, and someone wants to buy it off of them, but in America, you need American currency, right?
Yes.
Okay, even in Nogales, if I went to a convenience store, do I pay them in pesos or do I pay them in dollars?
I will be guessing because I know there were some stores at one point that were accepting pesos, so I don't know.
Okay. If you go to Phoenix to do roofing, you can have a seat, thank you. Would you,
I'm sorry, but could you put the currency back in the wallet before you walk away?
I guess,
Oh my God, are you the guard? Holy crap, snap, snap. You're in a freaking court of law. It's on a sanitized, clean table. She's
Could
fussing.
the detective just grab the wallet out of the middle of the bag with the backpack, just so we've got it secured?
Why?
appropriately? Would
Are
it be
you-
all right with the court?
I don't understand what you're talking about.
We're like mixing 2 exhibits together there. I'm just a little concerned
It was in the bag.
about the handling. Could we have the detective just gather that exhibit and take it to the side?
Well, yeah, leave it here, and we won't touch it anymore, and at the break, you can do what needs to be done.
She is, whoop. Well, do you know what, guys? I got to be honest. They've already processed, and I understand they got to keep the evidence. But the wallet was in the bag with the backpack, and that's on her. Because when they brought the bag in, it was a big bag, and they opened it up. They listed everything in that bag. There was a wallet in the bag, a backpack in the bag. There was a fanny pack in the bag. There was a hat. And in the backpack were several shirts, 2 of which this guy did not recognize. There were other shirts. There were cans of food that were not in the backpack because they disposed of that. But my whole saying in all of this was, you guys are the one that put it all in the bag. So why are you fussing and pissing and moaning because she's having everything put back in the bag that you brought it? Oh, Miss Snippy, get under control.
all right, we're going to go back to what's still being published on the board, which is the decedent's head with the cap on his head. And I'm going to go back to the original photo here that I showed first for a second. I don't know. And I want you to notice the cap, sir. Do you see how the cap is buckled down? Kind of
Yes.
under the forehead. So if I grabbed this backpack and pulled on it, could that cause the hat to
Come under. Oh,
Again, I will
shit.
be guessing, ma'am.
But your job is to investigate all possibilities.
She's good. Damn, she's good. Has it been 2 hours of my life? Yes, hallelujah. Okay. The hat is on. When you fall, usually it's going to do this, right? It's going to come back. But if someone grabs a backpack and drags you, and the hat is being pushed forward and dragging you, they found the brim of the hat down like this. the top of the back of the hat where the buckle, the adjuster is back here, and the backpack was over it. So if you drag somebody with a baseball cap, if it doesn't fall off, that's exactly how it's going to be. I like you, ma'am.
Correct?
My job is to investigate, yes.
Yes, and make note, like of signs of, because you said you were looking for anyone else being there. Maybe he was robbed. Have you considered that?
I will be guessing, ma'am.
Wait, sir, your job is to write down all possibilities and investigate, not sit there and defend yourself for why you didn't investigate.
Objection argumentative.
Sustained.
The fact that the zipper's open, the fanny pack is torn off of him or put on the side and off of his body with a broken buckle. And isn't that a possible sign of robbery?
That was not my opinion.
Yes
then.
or no? Sorry.
In defense 55, already admitted evidence. Let me show you the fanny pack that as you open it appears to be half empty.
Your Honor, I'm sorry, I just want to clarify the record. Did you say Defense Exhibit 35?
55 is what I said. 55.
State's Exhibit or Defense Exhibit?
Defense Exhibit 55, or is that SS? That's probably SS, I'm sorry. I have to read writing. SS marked -K. Okay, sorry.
She
read
has
that right.
definitely created the reasonable doubt.
Notice this fanny pack as you unzipped it,
I'll tell you my theory at the
Something on
end of
the
this.
the right of our screen, and this side of it, there's nothing there. Do you know that there could have been a wad of $20 bills there rolled up?
I will be guessing as the contents. I don't know that.
It's speculation, ma'am.
Robberies fall within the scope of law enforcement, doesn't it?
Yes.
Robbery has to be one of the things. That's the whole thing. They
Looking
only
at-
investigated one thing. They never looked at anything else.
Defense 00, not zeros.
That's part of the problem, and I know that's where she's going. They didn't look at anything else. They didn't investigate anything. Only thing they did was investigate how they could charge Mr. Kelly. And that's part of the problem. When they have a witness that says that he was there, he was right next to the victim, and yet you have a SO supervisor saying that they had no indication that anybody else was there, but yet you have grass that at the time was over knee high, and by the body there is trampled down grass that's laying flat, and all of that. That is all evidence, and they didn't consider anything else. Although, be it they didn't know there was somebody with the guy. But now they do. They could have dropped the charges, but no. They've done everything they can to prosecute this man. Now, once again, I haven't heard all the evidence. And yes, I'll be this hard on the defense if need be. But right now, I'm not seeing this.
A picture of the decedent's hand grasping at a straw, which is
You've been
where the
grabbing
grass
while he's
terrain
being
that's out there.
pulled.
Looked like somehow this hand clenched it as prior to getting into death and rigor, correct?
Death and rigor is not going to
His
make you
hand
pull
is
up.
half clenched, yes.
We see grass all around it and this straw-like, grass-like material in his palm sticking out through his fingers, right?
Yes.
And look at the prosecution laughing as he's speaking to her. Both of them are the prosecutors. Guys, if you are still somewhat alive and somebody is dragging your butt, what are you going to do?
We see the hand cupped. Here's another one.
Rigor mortis doesn't grab grass. It may do this
Observed in another photo in that same
and
evidence
stay in that
grouping.
position, but it doesn't grab the
Correct.
grass.
Yes.
It couldn't hold on to the cup unless I died with the cup in my hand, and my hand maintained the cup once I'd ceased. Then, at some point, the cup would not be removable from my hand.
And this could be found in your
For a
crime
short
scene
time.
photos.
It's not in the crime scene photos,
No,
just to
I-
clarify for the
This is the
record.
first time I ever
This could
seen.
be found,
Is that an autopsy?
observed in another photo in that same evidence grouping. Correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, Is that an autopsy photo? Is that an autopsy photo?
No? Oh, yeah, but it's been admitted.
Okay, okay.
And this could be found in your crime scene photos.
It's not in the crime scene photos,
No,
just to clarify for the record.
This is the first time I ever see those pictures.
Okay. And so you never noticed that he had all this grass in his hand? Then when you were at the scene?
There was grass, I just don't recall this picture.
Okay, I didn't ask you if this was your photo. It's already admitted.
Right.
I'm just asking you to look at it. I could find some more photos, but.
Look at the
this is a
prosecution.
photo
They're
that
gonna
admitted
object,
already into
man.
evidence.
They're looking.
Do you see the grass
They missed
material in his
something.
hand as if he's kind of clenching onto this
Look at that man's
grass
face.
that is found out in this terrain?
I do see it, yes.
Look at him.
Could that also be indicative of being dragged and grabbing onto grass?
Again, that would be guessing. I don't want to speculate on what happened.
Here's the last photo in that same grouping, and
Did the prosecution overlook something? Good aha
hands are
moment.
definitely cupped in this position, correct?
Yes.
And we don't walk around with grass in between our fingers.
The
right?
gentleman in the orange shirt is their evidence control
would.
guy.
Not between the middle and the ring finger. That's an awkward place, isn't it?
I don't know, ma'am.
You don't think the grass just fell in it, do you?
Again, I will be guessing how the grass got to the hand.
But normally, does grass fall into the fingers like that?
Again, I don't know how the grass got there. I don't want to guess how.
No. Did
You're
you note
covering
it
your
in your report,
ears.
in your observations?
No, I don't think I
Did
did.
you note the buckle that was broken?
I don't remember seeing it.
Did you note that this backpack was over the head, indicative possibly of being dragged or robbed?
That was
Objection compound, Your Honor. She indicated.
Might break it down to, yeah, break it down.
Indicative of being dragged
that wasn't my belief at that point when I saw the person.
or robbed?
No, that was not my belief either.
But you didn't even
But you didn't note it in your
investigate
report, is the question.
I didn't note.
You didn't
what I'm
even
saying.
think about investigating
You
anything
didn't
but
note
Mr.
these
Kelly.
observations in your
You
report,
had
did
a
you?
bullseye for Kelly.
No, I did not.
You didn't
That's
note
all there was.
the unzipped
You didn't want to
bag
investigate anything else. I know I'm.
of the deceased, did you?
No, I didn't.
It's so hard to stay impartial at this point. At this point in the trial, it is so hard for me to stay impartial. I'm an alternate juror. That's how I look at things. I'm not a lawyer. And I'm looking at this as if I'm going to have to decide guilt or innocence. And even though the jurors cannot speak to each other about what's going on at this point, they are forming their thoughts and their questions and they're thinking. And I'm telling you, if I had to say guilty or innocent today, this man is so far from guilty. And if I was him, I'd be suing the pants off of this district attorney. That
And
very well
had
may
you talked to
change,
Mr. Kelly
and I'm
learned
open
about
for that.
The one shot that was fired, you didn't do anything in this investigation under your watch to try to solve where that one shot came from, did you?
Not during the time I was there, no.
And you noticed the walkie-talkie, didn't you?
The radio, yes.
I'm sorry, that's old-fashioned. The radio, more high-powered than a walkie-talkie.
Yes, I did see it.
Okay, so it wasn't a toy. It was a real radio.
It looked like a real radio, yes.
And he has been, what did I do? I did something. He has been, what did I do? Okay. Why is everybody standing? What did I do? Did the judge say, oh, that's why, because I went back there.
That as you open it, appears to be to obtain
Sorry about that, y'all.
or robbed.
That was,
Objection compound, Your Honor.
Okay, we're back. Okay, but here's the thing.
She indicated.
Might break it down to, yeah, break it down.
Indicative of being dragged
that wasn't my belief at that point when I saw the person.
or robbed. You didn't do anything in this investigation under your watch to try to solve where that one shot came from, did you?
Not during the time I was there, no.
That wasn't on his radar. Boy, the prosecution's having a lot
You
good old
noticed the
time over there.
walkie-talkie, didn't you?
Very
The
distracting.
radio, yes.
I'm sorry, that's old-fashioned. The radio.
Oh, that's
More
where I was
high-powered
going.
than a walkie-talkie.
Yes, I did.
Okay, that's where I was going. Guys, the only people who carry the radios, because they're expensive as heck, and any kind of binoculars, which there's photos of him having, are the ones who are the human traffickers. Just saying. Those who are fleeing do not carry the radios.
It's,
Okay, so it wasn't a toy. It was a real radio.
it looked like a real radio, yes.
I want to find something.
And that, along with the coloring of the clothing, the fact that you know he was not a legal citizen, the backpack, the fanny pack, all these items was not suspicious in your mind that this could have been someone like a mule or someone that was either carrying or items that were illegal?
Objection, form of the question?
I don't understand the question.
You did you consider the fact, just a second. Did you not think or draw any conclusions based on the clothing and the items on this person that this could have been a smuggler?
I wasn't investigating a smuggling or a citizenship crime at this point.
Sir, all facts are important, wouldn't you agree? All facts are important in order to get to the right answer, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You can't go into a homicide investigation blinded, would you agree? You don't have enough information right now to know the answer, do you?
I don't.
Okay, and so you got to gather information and make note of it and pass that on to the detectives so a proper investigation could happen. Wouldn't you agree?
The detectives would have done their own investigation and come up with more evidence, more factual evidence after I leave. I was just the first responder there for.
You don't know that detectives rely on your notes, your reports, your investigation to help them.
All right, guys. I can't get it to work.
Get to some of these possibilities?
They do. They rely on some of the information.
It starts with the first officers at a scene. What they saw, correct?
Correct.
Who they talked to, what they said, correct?
Correct.
What physical evidence was around, correct?
Yes.
Your job, being one of the first officers to respond to the scene, was to help gather this information and document, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. That would be in your training manual, correct?
Correct.
Snap.
You also noticed Mr. Kelly's 2 Labradors, right?
Correct.
And in all fairness, when he walked out with you to show you the body, those dogs followed, didn't they?
Yes.
And matter of fact, they were all over there smelling the body, weren't they?
They were in the area, yes.
Well, they were right there where the body was too, weren't they? They were smelling on the body.
When they were smelling the area, I couldn't tell that the body was there. I couldn't see the body. I saw the dogs walking around in the area.
And sir, that's allowing something to tamper with a crime scene, isn't it?
Excuse me.
Again, at
Yep.
that point, I did not know the body was there. Dogs holler. Again, I did not see the body. I saw the dogs walking around. I couldn't see the body at that point.
That's fair.
I already did that.
That's very fair, actually.
Just a minute, Your Honor. I need to check my notes where I'm at.
Oh, God, have mercy.
And, let's see. So when you sent Mr. Kelly away and the dogs, you also requested a firearms canine, correct? To at least be placed on standby?
Correct.
And at this point, you also asked Deputy Lopez to obtain the handgun that was on Mr. Kelly, correct?
After they had left, yes.
Yes, while they went closer towards the house, correct? Or by the trailer?
Yes.
Okay. Now, do you remember that you asked Mr. Kelly, are you comfortable or something about do you feel like you need your gun?
I do remember asking, yes.
Yes. And what, didn't he let you know that he needed the gun, he was very uncomfortable without it because of the dangers that existed on that property?
Yes.
Okay. So that was real to him, right? That this could be a dangerous area and that's why he needed a gun.
Again, that's something that he will probably have to answer.
But you noted it, didn't you?
Yes, he did mention that he was not comfortable walking around with a firearm.
But again, he was cooperative and put it up, and then later you all confiscated that, correct?
Yes.
And you broadcasted through your radio to Sergeant Garcia, correct?
Yes.
To make contact with whoever was inside the house and get them out, right?
Correct.
Because you wanted to protect the house for some reason as a crime scene.
Correct.
But there, to your knowledge, was there ever any shooting or anything in the house that you learned at this time?
Inside the house?
Yes.
No.
And that you noted that Mrs. Kelly was escorted out and the residence was secured until you could get the search warrant.
That's the information I received on the radio from Sergeant Garcia and Deputy Norsagaray.
And because the reason why you needed a K-9 was in case you needed to locate any firearms or shell casings, right?
Correct.
Now, you said you proceeded to Sergeant Flores' location. Where was that? Back by the house?
Back by the horse trailer, that's where I met him.
And then you assisted at that time with photographs and moved the bodies, right?
Correct.
And that's when you cut the straps to the backpack.
Yes.
And as far as the cans of tuna, which for some reason is not available, there were 2 cans according to that photograph, right?
Can you repeat the question, ma'am?
There were 2 cans of tuna in the
I
bag.
did not count the cans.
Why not? Why
And
not
so
count?
you two start peeling off the clothing and turning the body around and start taking photographs, correct?
Yes.
And so, and this officer that's taking the photographs, is he crime scene?
He's the detective sergeant for the Criminal Investigations Division for the Sheriff's Office.
So that would be a yes answer, right? That's his job skill, to go to a crime scene and document it.
Yes.
And you were happy to be back on the road. Is that why you were just a little bit overzealous about this?
What was the question, I'm sorry?
You noted that you were happy to do, what was that program that you got to do before coming to the scene?
That I was happy to do what program? I don't understand.
Stone Guard.
I was working in Operation Stone Garden, yes. That's
You
the
were-
name of the grant.
And you were glad to get into patrol. You said you were happy to be able to get back there because what you were doing is a little more administrative, correct?
I never said that, no.
You never said that?
No.
looking over my notes, Judge.
No problem.
Did you at all talk with Mrs. Kelly?
No, I didn't.
Do you have any idea why she was placed inside of a squad car and taken to the station?
I will assume because of the cold weather. It was January 30th and it was late at night.
So you can speculate to some things?
Again, I do remember Sergeant Garcia mentioning that she was placed in the car because of the weather.
But driven to the police station? Did anyone ask if she wanted to go?
That reason, I don't know why she went to the police station.
And the back doors of a car, a patrol car, are locked from the inside? You can't get out, correct?
Are you asking me if the cars are
Right.
locked?
Yeah, automatically.
They are, yes.
So she was not free to go.
Did you ask if she wanted to sit in her car?
No,
We're
I didn't
almost
ask that.
done.
You made a note that the items, the tuna cans inside the backpack, were consistent with migrants. So I'm going to go back to this. Do migrants usually carry radios?
No.
I've seen migrants carry radios, yes.
How about migrants carrying telephones, cell phones?
It is common, yes.
Yeah. Radios are not usually a common item in a person's belongings, is it?
No.
Depends on what they're doing, ma'am. I don't know.
Do migrants always wear camouflaged clothing?
It is common for most of them to be wearing that, yes.
You're losing.
Do migrants go through the terrain into people's private property on a regular basis?
Yes, they could.
Yes.
And so to have these people, if they had rifles, would that have changed your tone of whether they were a migrant or a trafficker?
I expect the
I
guy
don't
that killed
understand
him
the question
took the
about the
rifle or
If
the
you
gun that was on
learn
him.
that there were rifles, are rifles regularly stolen off of people? Guns are stolen from people?
Generally, yes. Some
Guns have value?
Yes.
And if you're in the underworld, guns are valuable, correct? Something they would want, correct?
And I will be guessing I don't work in the underworld.
All right, we're going to take our noon recess. Is that all right with you?
Yes.
Thank you. Because almost noon, we'll take a noon recess. We'll reconvene at 1:30. We'll continue with, if there's more cross-examination, then there'll be redirect examination. We'll have a regular schedule today.
Okay, guys, we're going to stop there. It's getting late. I'll watch the rest of this at home, and then we'll come in tomorrow because we're not going to be able to see court. I'll come in tomorrow and we'll play the rest of the afternoon. It got a little hairy, but I will tell you, I don't think the prosecution has dug themselves out of the hole yet. And this witness, I believe honestly, I believe he knows he didn't do everything the way he should have, and he is covering up. He's not covering up. He's not answering questions and saying he can't speculate because he knows that if he does, it's going to impeach him. So, and once again, I did not come into this as having one side or the other. We've only heard from the prosecution. We do not know the defense. We do not have the rest of the prosecution up yet. So everything right now, I'm basing on what I've just seen. So with that, everybody, you guys have an amazing evening. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. I will see you tomorrow morning at some point. It's a Saturday, so we come in a little later, but I will come on and we will watch the second half of Today tomorrow. Good night, everybody.